Oh,
There's
no.
a lot of interesting looking stains on this couch. Oh, hi, everybody. We're live.
Oh, no.
Yeah. This
Someplace new.
This motel has been thoroughly used.
Oh, dear.
Oh, boy.
Oh, dear.
Oh, the joys of living on the road.
I think I need to increase the magnification of all text on my screen because I can't
magnification.
see.
That's right.
Enhance.
Yes.
There we go.
Everyone, this is the live recording of the This Week in Science TWIS podcast. We're here. It's TWIS-o-ween, everyone. Once a year, it's TWIS-o-ween, time to celebrate the ghastly and the ghoulish in the world. But we got science.
Enough of politics.
I have my co-hosts back. Yay! So should we start a show? Do we sound all right, everybody?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Well, actually, let's all talk at once.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Let's all talk at once. That's how a mic check works, right?
I can hear that.
It works.
Yeah.
If we all sound the same when we talk at the same time, then it's perfect. Mic levels are perfect. Yes. Doing that, then we can find out how far behind the broadcast is from.
We should absolutely save that for our next live show if we ever have one again.
Oops.
Where they ask for a mic check and we all start testing it all at the same time.
I like it.
Well, we often talk over each other. It's only fitting we tested at that level.
Darn it, louder. Kiki, be louder. Okay, I'm louder. It taps out on my end, and I feel like I'm hitting the red on my end.
You're fine. You sound good.
Great. Okay, I've upped it just a little bit. I don't want to.
Well, there's glare from my visor.
Yeah,
but
a little
that's
glare.
typical in an X-wing. You're just gonna get that. You're just
always
gonna
have
that.
a little glare.
Unless you're in the inky blackness of space, then I feel like it's better.
I like the glare from Blair. And on that
I can
note,
just do the whole show like this. Is that better?
I like it. Are we gonna start this thing? Let's do this thing.
Yeah.
What? We're gonna start this
I never
show.
noticed the very prominent chin strap. That's.
I don't think I had it on
around.
last time, and honestly, I don't know how long it's gonna last because my chin's getting sweaty.
Oh yes, the details behind the scenes that no one will normally know. Let's start this show in a 3, a 2. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 797, recorded on Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. Don't fear, TWIS-o-ween. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we will fill your head with fear, potions, and vampires. But first...
Disclaimer. The United States of America is about to get the one thing it always wants. Democracy. The opportunity to vote. The chance to change the direction of a nation or keep it going down the path it has been on for a while. However the masses choose to vote, the results will have consequences. Good ones, bad ones, we will have to live with them because democracy is worth it, right? Even when we don't like the outcome, but much more so when we do. While the fairness of elections can always be questioned, be it the electoral process itself, the contemptible attempts to disrupt access to voting, or the threat of foreign influence and disinformation campaigns, questioning, challenging, putting elections under a microscope is entirely a necessary part of being in a democracy. But nothing is more important than the act of voting itself and the subsequent counting of those votes. As election draws near, keep in mind that it is up to you to determine the future. So make good choices. Because without a bright future, there wouldn't be us here to bring you more This Week in Science. Coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. enough. I wanna learn everything. I wanna fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I wanna know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki and Blair.
And a good science to you too, Justin Blair, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. We're back with science
Yeah.
and a little scary attitude. Yeah. We're bringing the TWIS-o-ween fever to the show tonight. Mwahaha. You may laugh. You may grow afraid of the science that we bring to you on the show tonight.
Yeah, actually, I guess
Oh, there's some scariness in the world. But maybe we'll teach you not to fear it. I have a lot of stories about, one about distant vampires. They like to keep their distance. They're very nice vampires in that way. Lots of fear. One story about potentially how we can maybe get rid of some of that fear. One about how we like fear. And then I think we should discuss trick-or-treat tactics.
Oh.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Justin, what do you have?
Let's see. I've got giant birds of Antarctica. Global cooling is really happening in humans. How microplastics are getting into babies. If you have babies, you're going to want to wait till the very end of the show, very end of the broadcast to hear about it.
Tonight at 9, something may be killing you.
Yeah. and an update on ice melt in the Arctic. That might be good news. We don't know.
No,
We'll
it's
have to
not.
No, it's not. It's scary.
We'll
It's
have to
scary,
find out.
and I don't like it. It's like
It might
the
be
stuff
good
of
news.
nightmares.
We don't know. We'll have to see.
Blair, what's in the animal corner?
There's spooky sounds in my house. I have a potent potion. I have kidnapping and home invasions. Trying to keep it on theme,
That's good. Potions. I mean, yeah, and then kidnapping and home invasions. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
the animal corner is full of uplifting stories tonight.
It's Fright Night,
Fright night it is. As we jump into our frightening show today, I want to remind you that if you have yet to subscribe to This Week in Science, you can find us all over the internet. We are all places where podcasts are found: Google, Apple, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Pandora, Spotify, radio.com. We are also on YouTube and Facebook. Look for This Week in Science or TWIS. And you can find us at TWIS.org. But now, let's get into these science stories. You want to get started with a haunting?
I mean, I'd rather not, but it's that time of year, so I feel like I'm going to have to.
Yep, we are diving right into haunted houses. So, what is it about horror movies and haunted houses that we like so much? What is it? Do you guys, there's an excitement
I
that we
hate
get.
I hate all of it, actually.
You
So
hate all
the
of it?
story
It's
is not
really-
for me.
you're like,
I hate
no.
being scared. I'm not with it at all.
Okay. Well, for those who do enjoy it, there's actually a term in psychology for the enjoyment of fear and the seeking of fear. It's called recreational fear. And it is that mixed emotional experience of feeling fear and enjoyment at the same time. And it's really hard to actually study this in people, but some wonderful researchers in Denmark got the idea to put heart rate monitors on people and watch them through cameras as they went through a commercial haunted house. Like every year there are these commercial haunted houses and people go through them on purpose for enjoyment, to scream and be scared. And Why not? So they got 110 volunteers to wear these heart rate monitors, and then they had cameras, surveillance cameras throughout the entire haunted house. And so they had people monitoring the cameras to be able to score enjoyment, fear, different behavioral responses of the people as they went through these haunted houses. And then they had the heart rate monitor data. They tracked all of this, plus they had reported feelings of the participants at the end of the haunted houses. As they exited, they reported on, oh, I got scared here, and that was good, and I liked that, blah, blah, blah. Well, the result is that this is really the first time that they've been able to put together this real world situation with these kinds of data. And they have what they call a couple of inverted U-shaped trends, where there is high fear and enjoyment, and there's a sweet spot where fear and enjoyment are maximized. And they seem to happen at the same sweet spot in the heart rate data that is related to these just right deviations from a person's normal physiological state. However, when those deviations became longer, more than just a second or two, and actually turned into a sustained high heart rate, then people reported actually having fear that was not enjoyable, where it turned into something else. And so this comparison of these pieces of data are really putting together this picture of how our bodies and our hearts and our brains and our metabolism, how they all work together to allow us to have this enjoyment of fear, and how that sometimes is not enjoyable. Like why, Blair, you would maybe not enjoy all this. Yeah.
Did these people know that they were going into a haunted house?
Yes.
Because, I mean,
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They wanted to. These are people who would have, they volunteered that, yes, haunted house, yes.
So it's like, old man Larson down the street needs his bread delivery. Can you go deliver that? And then, oh my God, it's a haunted house.
Yeah. I mean, that would be, or like, we're just the studies we got, you get your heart monitors on and all this stuff. And basically, you're going to see a couple of images show up on the screen, and you don't have to do anything. We're just going to test your reaction. And then through the door bursts a man with an axe, like, ah! And so that's who I want to test. I want to see
so that's exactly what I hate too, is this is the time of year when last night, late at night, I was scrolling on Instagram, and they autoplay certain videos, and this really creepy video started audio playing, where this scary like monster thing like popped up on the screen. I nearly threw my phone across the room.
Oh shit.
I think you should have to opt in to the scary stuff. Yeah. It's not enjoyable for everyone.
No.
I have last night I came across a website that is it's extremely fun, and it led to one of my friends being scared, and it was called, here, I'm going to find it really fast because it really is a very enjoyable thing, and it's a good tangent. It is called La 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 La. That's not what it's
La
called.
La 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 La. That's like my favorite website. I love
I'm taking
La La
a
La 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 La.
tangent. I'm taking a tangent. Oh, it's called lookslikeyouneediceland.com. And what you do is you scream. You choose different Icelandic environments to scream into, and they have speakers set up in the real places in Iceland, and they are releasing our screams into the wild in Iceland.
That's great.
But they play back the screams on the website periodically, and so if my friend left it open in a tab on his browser and went about doing other things, and like suddenly there were screams coming from his computer in the middle of the night, and he's like, ah!
Oh, that's terrible.
That's funny.
Yeah, very funny. Okay, anyway, tangent.
That's such a great idea. That you could just so easily set that up pretty much anywhere.
You could.
Like we could just set up the speakers in downtown Davis and like invite the world to scream at the town of Davis. That's so funny. I like the idea.
It's a great idea. Yes. It looks like you need Iceland. Okay, Justin, let's move away from scary haunted houses and why we enjoy them or Blair doesn't and talk about big old birds. Are they scary big birds?
So it depends on what if you are afraid of birds, I guess, to begin with, because then any bird was already scary, and then the bigger the bird, the scarier it is. Although I'm not really sure how many people are scared of birds anymore, but they haven't maybe seen ones like this. So the biggest bird, or the bird with the biggest wingspan, anyway, on Earth right now is Blair. Do you know it?
The albatross.
The wandering albatross. Yes. It has an average wingspan of about 3 meters or 10 feet, up to, can get up to like 11 and a half feet in length. That which is I can't even demonstrate, but it's like 2 of these, just about.
You could
Crazy.
put me head to toe, like 2 of me.
Twice.
Twice, yes.
Yeah.
I did put me on top of me. That would be the size of this bird.
So that's about half the size of the fossils recovered from Antarctica, which is it represents the oldest members of an extinct group of birds that used to patrol the southern oceans with wingspans up to 21 feet.
Pew.
Crazy. So these are birds that really, like the wandering albatross already can be up there for like a month and a half and not come down. With the lift that they've got, they can just stay up. It doesn't take much energy.
Right.
If you got a
They're
nice
soaring birds.
Yeah. These are called pelagornithids. These birds sort of the oceans for at least 60 million years. So they actually also are like the longest existing giant bird form, I guess. There's some much smaller ones that date 62 million years ago. I guess they up to about 2 million years ago before they went extinct. They found a 50 million year old portion of a bird's foot that shows that they arose basically just right after the mass extinction of the dinosaurs. There's another segment they found that's part of a jawbone that's about 40 million years ago. When you combine the data and how big and small of these things should be, it figures to be a skull that was approximately 2 feet long, which is, we're not talking a beak, I don't even think there.
No, that's just the skull.
The skull.
Yeah.
I bet it's with the beak.
No, with the beak?
I bet, yeah. Yeah, because usually when you look at bird skulls, the beaks are still there because it's...
Yeah.
Okay.
They're attached.
There's bone underneath
bony.
the keratin. Yeah.
Because that seems like, it seems really
It's definitely
big.
bigger. I mean, an ostrich skull's
Yeah,
smaller than a foot.
But this is a 21-foot wingspan that's also grabbing fish out of the ocean. So I don't know. I don't know if it is.
I'm guessing,
But please
go ahead.
come up with the last detail, the last most important detail about the skull and the beak of these birds.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they have pseudo teeth.
Yes. So albatrosses today do not. They don't have teeth. They just have their beaks, and they scoop up those fish very nicely.
Yeah, so
But
this one had
pseudo-teeth.
some of the segment of the jaw that they found
That's
has
scary.
these pseudo teeth that are about 2 inches long, and they look like really sharp. This looks like a bird looking at this like with really sharp teeth, but the pseudo teeth are more like fingernail
Needle-like
type material.
protrusions.
They're not needle-like. They actually they come up to a nice point. They look like teeth, but they're made out of a material that's not actually bone, but keratin, like fingernail-y stuff, right? It's more like like little horns. But basically, those are designed to be able to grasp onto fish.
Slippery fish.
And hold them and then swallow them. Not meant for chewing. There's no jaw strength behind it or anything like that. But my favorite part of this story is that the researcher, these were discovered back in the 80s. And they were from Seymour Island, the northernmost tip of the Antarctic Peninsula. This is from a time when it was very warm. There wasn't ice covering Antarctica. And you had all sorts of marsupials living there, and ostrich-like creatures and other kinds of big birds and that sort of thing. They had recovered these. They were taken to UC Riverside. They were then moved to UC Museum of Paleontology at UC Berkeley, and then they were promptly forgotten about. They were right there in between the remnants of the craft that crashed at Roswell and the Ark of the Covenant, in just a box covered in dust.
Just sitting there. Mm-hmm.
So this researcher, Close, he stumbled across the specimens. He was poking around the collection looking for stuff to study as a graduate student back in 2015. He started analyzing these bones. Like, what are these? What's going on here? And they were totally like under-identified. They had just sort of been found and set there. And maybe it was one of those situations where there's paleontologists or archaeologists in the field and they're finding bones, but they're there to study sea mammals. And these aren't sea mammals. So they go into a box. It's not the thing that they're interested in. They still catalog it. They say, okay, here's where we found it. It's maybe 40, 50 million years old in the sediment, whatever. Some kind of bird, not the thing I study. Put it in the box, send it to the museum. So this, here's this description here. He's basically like, he's described as a museum rat at some point in this breakdown of it. We're just like sort of sniffing around the archives and the museums looking for something interesting. And amazingly, like this is like that theme that almost it's a meme of the show.
Right,
hey, they found something in the basement of a museum that was uncovered or discovered basically, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, but only now is coming to light. Yeah, one of those kind of fun stories. This is actually a quote from Close. Collections are vastly important, so making discoveries like this Pelagornithid wouldn't have happened if we didn't have these specimens in the public trust, whether at UC Riverside or now Berkeley. The fact that they exist for researchers to look out and study has incredible value. Yeah.
So much value. I'm so glad there are people who are museum rats who do want to sniff through the things that other people have put in boxes to get back to later, but never had the time to. For sure. Pelagornithids.
Yeah, there was another big bird.
I don't want to be the fish that they're eating.
No.
Teratorns that were around for a shorter period of time. Also had extremely big wingspans and are related to vultures, but the Pelagornithids apparently are not related to anything currently living. So they're not actually. They have a very similar
morphology
and hunting strategies as I guess as an albatross. They also can stay up for many, many weeks at a time, they think.
It looks in this artist rendering too like they took a lot of inspiration from the albatross.
Yeah.
It's like an albatross? Not exactly, but go ahead.
Go bigger,
an albatross, but bigger.
With pointy teeth.
Yes, exactly. All right, Blair, move us on in our TWIS-o-ween.
The most potent potions.
So we're talking about some of those fish that Pelagornithid is eating?
Yes, exactly. So this is the University of Cincinnati did a study looking at North American freshwater fish called least killifish. They're unusual from most fish in that they have a placenta and give birth to live young. So it's something that a few different types of fish do. Several shark species do this as well, but it gives them a kind of a bigger opportunity for biomagnification, which is why they were a study of pollutants in the fish and in those freshwater systems and kind of the impact. So they found that fish exposed in a lab to concentrations of 5 nanograms per liter of estrogen had fewer males and less offspring in general. And the normal concentration of estrogen in streams adjacent to treatment plants is around 60 nanograms per liter, so a lot higher than that. And so this just kind of shows that something we pretty much already had a good idea of, but this is a really good kind of laboratory model looking at specifically what the capacities are for where estrogen has impacts on the fish populations. And they looked at it specifically at synthetic estrogen called 17-alpha ethanolestradiol, which is an active ingredient in oral contraceptives and is used in hormone replacement therapy. So first of all, if medications are flushed, which you should never do for this reason, if medications are flushed, but also just as they move through your body, some of it is unmetabolized and it ends up in the water treatment systems, which have been extremely well designed to remove lots of other things, but not pharmaceuticals. And so those birth control or hormone therapy byproducts go straight into the water system.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that's how pharmaceuticals get in there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like the people aren't like flushing their unused pills down the toilet.
I mean,
like,
it happens.
I'm sure it happens, but when
you're
they're
actually instructed to. If you are instructed to, if someone passes away or if you have a large amount of pills, there's no place to go turn them in and recycle them.
Garbage.
You can throw them in the garbage, but you are also told to there are instructions to flush them down the toilet.
Oh,
right?
that's
so really
terrible.
what you should do is drop them off at a doctor's office because they will take care of them properly. So you can drop them off at, there's lots of different
They will flush them
places.
down the toilet. No.
I mean, so yeah. So there's
unless
places
they're really,
that you specifically can dispose of medications.
Unless they're the really good kind, in which case send them to care of Dr. Justin, not a real doctor. This week in science. What's the address?
No.
I forget what the address is.
You're in trouble.
What the address is.
But anyway, yes. So this is a good reminder. Don't flush your pills, but also just something that it's 2020. Why are we not? Hopefully, people are working on this and trying to figure out how to filter out pharmaceuticals in water treatment plants. But I feel like get on this, guys. We're messing up the planet.
Yeah. So one way is the FDA says is to remove whatever the drugs are from their original containers, mix them with something undesirable, such as used coffee grounds, dirt, or cat litter. Put the mixture in something you can close, as resealable zipper storage bag, empty can, or other container that prevents the drug from leaking or spilling out. And then you can throw them away. Scratch out all your personal information as well.
I had no idea that there was recommended flushing. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
So don't do that.
Yeah, flushing medicines, because some medicines could be especially harmful to others. They have specific directions to immediately flush them down the sink or toilet when they are no longer needed, and a take-back option is not readily available. So some drugs, yes, it does. It depends.
Right.
But yes.
So anyway, next step for
Fascinating.
this study is to see if estrogens and androgens do anything to those offspring beyond changing their ratios, which probably.
Probably. I mean, these are sex hormones. The reason we use them at the doses we do is that they control our reproductive cycles, and those
We're
same
a lot bigger than a
hormones-
teeny tiny little freshwater fish.
Yeah, hence the small amount that can affect that freshwater fish compared to the larger amount that we need as humans. But I mean, this is something we've talked about before on the show, the effect of our pharmaceuticals on natural environments. And it's an ongoing question of exactly what impacts are we having. Our world has impacts on us, and we just knock it right back.
Indeed.
I'm going to knock you out.
Oh, no.
My flushed pills are going to knock you out. No. Okay, let's move on. More scary stories. How about sneaky, sneaky parasites hiding in your blood? Yes, there are some parasites that get into your body. They get into your bloodstream, and they use you to find their next victim. They use vectors like mosquitoes to allow their passage from one victim to the next. And as they go, they have to hide themselves from your immune system. Dun, dun, dun. So they can survive another day. What I'm
I've had
talking about?
coworkers like this, but what are you talking about?
The call is coming from inside the bloodstream. Is that what you're
The call is
talking
coming
about?
from inside the bloodstream. I am talking about malaria. Yes, malaria. Plasmodium falciparum. Yes, I knew I could get that out. This parasite loves to hide in human red blood cells, and some researchers just publishing this week a study that they did looking at the genes that get activated during different seasons in human hosts for malaria. They looked at 600 people in Mali, Africa, and this was during the 2017-2018 rainy seasons. They recorded diagnosed cases of malaria as well as with fever and suspected cases of malaria. And then they also recorded the dry seasons in between with numbers of malaria cases. And they found that, of course, rainy season, many more cases of malaria, some almost 350 to 400 cases versus only about 12 to 15 during the dry season. So there's a huge difference in the number and the severity of cases of malaria between rainy and dry seasons. And the researchers hypothesized that maybe the parasite has a mechanism to hide itself in the human body until the season when its vector comes out, when it is better for the malaria. And they discovered there are different genes that get activated during the dry season that change the way that the red blood cells that are infected stick to the inner lining of your blood vessels. So normally damaged and infected red blood cells will get filtered through the spleen. And that's something that the malaria doesn't want to have happen. So during the rainy season, they make your the infected red blood cells get all sticky. So they stick to the inside of the blood vessels. But then, and this allows them to stay in the blood and they have their infection and everything's bad. And in the dry season, the gene profile changes. The red blood cells aren't sticky. That means that more cells do get filtered by the spleen. But what happens is the parasite is then able to keep a low profile in its host during the entire year and not activate the immune system and then emerge again when the rains start in the following year.
Sneaky.
Super sneaky. I want to know, how does the parasite know it's rainy? How does it know?
As soon as the human opens an umbrella, they're like, that's it, let's get sticky.
I'm going to be sticky. Stop the cells.
You're not going to like my answer, but I'm going to guess it's hormones.
I'm going to say it's
believe it.
microbiome related.
It could be.
Yeah. We'll just play that game for the rest of
Blair calls
every
hormones.
unknown.
Justin
Blair,
calls
like,
microbiome.
Yeah, I think this is a typical delineation. This is how we draw our lines on the show here. But like 2 weeks ago, Blair, you had the story about seasonality in humans and how there's like two seasons in humans. And if that's true, maybe there really is some kind of hormonal, bacterial profile, whatever it is, that you've got the let's be prolific, let's be healthy, rainy, springy kind of season, and then you've got the hunker down and it's dry. I don't know.
And to be fair, in those 2 seasons, there's going to be different foods available, which will alter your microbiome. I'm just saying, don't rule it out.
I put it in there. I put it in there when I started.
It also sounds to me like hibernation or estivation, right?
Yeah, it sounds
Which
like
is-
humans are a biome.
It's which is usually hormonally triggered. Just saying, you know.
So many things to look at there, but regardless, something is triggering a change in the genetic profile of the parasite, which potentially is influencing its survival over seasons, which I find that absolutely fascinating and terrifying.
Well, and one last thing, not to create too many speculations around this, but I wonder if it could also be affected by the homeostasis attempts inside the body to adjust and regulate to exterior thermal conditions. Like as the weather cools, you have a lot more activity going on in your metabolism and your liver and your other organs to try to get to the right internal temperature. And maybe something just in that normal attempt to homogenize to your environment is triggering this somehow, possibly through hormones.
Which I would say probably through hormones that way.
Yeah, that's a good argument for hormones. Absolutely.
All right, tell me it. Yeah, moving on from this terrifying, sneaky parasite, tell me a tale of sea ice.
Oh yeah, this is Sea Ice Arctic Update Edition. Record lows in October for sea ice, as the unusually warm waters slowed the recovery of ice, according to Danish researchers. Diminishing ice comes as a reminder about how the Arctic has been particularly hard hit by this global warming thing that we've been seeing for a long time. Since the 1990s, warming has been twice as fast in the Arctic regions as it has been for the rest of the globe, a phenomenon dubbed Arctic amplification. This is quotey voice of a scientist from the Danish Meteorological Institute, Rasmus Tonbo, who is saying, the October Arctic sea ice extent is going to be the lowest on record, and the sea ice growth rate is slower than normal. According to preliminary satellite data used by the Institute, sea ice surface area was at 6.5 million square kilometers, which is 2.5 million square miles, on October 27th, which is the lowest they have recorded in the history of recording the ice.
That's the scream of the terrified children of the future.
So every year, ice that is formed in the Arctic melts in the summer. That is the normal part. Usually reaches a low point of about 5 million square kilometers, but then reforms. That would have been earlier in the summer, not now in October, but early in the summer. But it reforms to cover about 15 million square kilometers in the winter. Warmer temperatures are now reducing both the summer and winter extent of the ice, so it means it's just shrinking. There's less of it. They've been collecting this satellite data since 1979. So since 1979, this is the lowest it's been, which is how long we've been looking. Interestingly, September was only the second lowest rate. There was a spike in 2012, which would have been a dip, I guess. A dip in sea ice in 2012. It was, again, because of an influx of extra warm, unusually warm waters at that time. But then September then was the second since the recorded time of looking at this back to 1979. Ooh. The Institute said this was following a trend observed in recent years, which is described as a vicious spiral. Vicious spiral. I wonder if that's good. Let's read further.
That sounds bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Yeah.
Vicious and spiral is not the good kind of spiral, but the bad kind of spiral.
It sounded fun, but apparently, according to Tonbo, it is a trend we've been seeing the past years with longer open water seasons, making the sun warm the sea for a longer time, resulting in shorter winters. The ice doesn't grow as thick as it used to. Since the melting is already in the ocean, this itself does not directly contribute to the rise in sea levels. Right. However, with less ice over the sea, sunlight gets absorbed into the ocean, helping further warm the waters, therefore contributing to more ice melt off glaciers and the like, resulting in more
melting.
Not to mention their entire ecosystems that depend on sea ice to survive.
Yeah.
I don't like this nightmare story.
Yeah, for the month of October, measurements show an 8.2% downward trend in ice over the last 10 years. The water temperatures in the eastern part of the Arctic, north of Siberia, was 2 to 4 degrees warmer than normal. And in Baffin Bay, hey, that's where I was, in the northwestern part of Greenland up there. It was 1 to 2 degrees warmer. None of this was good news. I'm sorry. I thought the update this week might have, or this month for sea ice might be good, but
no,
What about
this is the
2020 makes you
TWIS-o-ween
think-
climate change nightmare juice.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
that's what it is. What about 2020, Blair?
Oh, just what about 2020 makes you think you'll have good news of any sort?
yeah, it's sort of been that way. It's not been the best of the years.
It's not. Nope. Nope. No, it hasn't.
I can think of better ones.
Well, let me give you a little bit of good news, because
sure.
if I didn't give you this good news, I might tell you about the giant asteroid Apophis, which is going to just miss us in 2026. That actually, because of the way it's kind of warming and the way it's going, it might hit us in like 2068. So, yeah, that one's.
We won't be here. What do
I
we
would-
care?
I would tell you about
except
that,
for
but I
Blair.
have good stories to tell you instead. So out of Ohio State University, a group of bat researchers have been doing vampire bat studies. Oh yeah, we love the vampire bats because really they are nothing like vampires.
You do have to
mean-
give them
Yeah,
permission
'cause
to enter
they're-
your home, though. That is true.
That's true.
Oh, that's good to know.
Totally. And if Blair says it's true, then it really
Then it must be.
Just kidding, guys. Sorry.
Well, I mean, like vampires in our myths and legends, vampire bats do suck the blood. Yes, they want to suck the blood
It's
of
usually
animals.
like cows and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, goats, cows, ungulates, horses, farming animals. Usually, because they're plentiful in the areas, but. These bats, they live socially, and we've talked before about their interesting social habits, and this team at Ohio State is responsible for some of the cool stories we've talked about how they build trust and make friends and have social bonds and connections in these amazing social groups. Well, they wanted to know what vampire bats do when they get sick. They said, well, a lot of social animals don't go around other animals. You know, you as humans, you don't feel good. You curl up in bed, you stay home. You don't really want to go out and socialize because you feel bad. And they wanted to see whether this happened in vampire bats. So they got some little tiny microchip monitors to be able to do GPS tracking and social monitoring of the social networks on a bunch of these vampire bats. They trapped a bunch of bats and they tagged them with these monitors, and then one group of them got, or a couple of groups of them got different dosages of a drug that would make them feel sick but not actually be sick. And so they would have all the bad feelings but, not actually have anything wrong with them. And then another group got a placebo injection. And then they let them go, and all the bats went back to their bat home to be social. And then over the next 24 hours, the ones that got the be sick drug went, I don't feel so good. And they started social distancing. They started keeping their distance from other bats in the social group. And they found that the healthy bats, not only did the healthy bats, additionally, the healthy bats tended to avoid them. So sick individuals in the social groups naturally became a little bit distanced and isolated, which would help the health of that social colony. So it's good to social distance, y'all. Keep your
Amazing how many
distance
people
this
don't have the
TWIS-o-ween.
sense of a vampire bat.
Yeah. This is back to me really hoping that
Act like a
something
vampire this Halloween. Keep your distance, man, and wear a mask. And maybe someday I'll come up with a rap that actually works with this. Okay.
I wonder if vampires would be considered vegetarians. Almost like, they're not really because they're feeding off of an animal product.
Blood.
However,
There's
doesn't kill the animal? Which is sort of what like vegetarians
Sanguivores.
who like still will eat like eggs and butter. They're like, as long as it doesn't kill the animal, they're okay with it. So I guess vampires would be, what'd you call it?
Sanguivores.
Yeah.
Sanguivores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They're not vegan, but I suppose they might be.
Nobody's
Definitely
vegan.
not vegan.
Vegetarian,
Except for
because
the
it's an animal product. Like, I don't know.
I don't know, but this team does amazing work on these bats, and this I think is really a really interesting addition to our understanding of the social dynamics of these vampire bats.
Let's keep this past COVID. If you're sick, stay home. If you have to go out, wear a mask if you're sick. Let's keep this going.
Yeah. Be cool like a vampire, yo.
Yeah.
Stay home. Don't feel good. Stay home.
I don't want to jinx it, but I was just kind of marveling at the fact that I haven't got some yucky cold in the past 8 months. And it's because people are distancing and washing their hands and masking and all this kind of stuff. And so it's like, how could I? If I'm successfully avoiding COVID, I'm probably successfully avoiding a lot of germs. So
yes.
Yeah, can we keep this?
Can we keep doing this? It's nice.
Just keep the part where we don't give each other sicknesses all the time.
Yeah. If you just tuned in, this is This Week in Science. If you're interested in a calendar, the 2021 calendars are now available for pre-order. If you head to TWIS.org, you can find the link on the sidebar to order your calendar today. Order one for a friend. Plan ahead for 2021. Maybe we'll get to do it twice. That's right. Get 2 calendars. If you also would like a shirt or a mug or some other item of TWIS merchandise for your favorite TWIS friend, well, they make great gifts as we come into the holidays. So while you're at TWIS.org, head over to our Zazzle store and browse our catalog of wonderful TWIS goodies that have been placed there lovingly by Blair. All right, let's come back for a little bit of COVID news. This is the sad, scary part of the show. Wait, the whole show. No. Okay, I've got some good news. I've got some things. Okay. Okay. Numbers are increasing. I'm not going to
get good news in this segment. I can't wait to hear. All right.
There is some good news. I mean, I think there is some good news in here.
All right.
Because we're learning things, and it's important to learn and grow and change the way we do things. Well, one thing we've talked about a lot on the show is convalescent plasma, and there's been a big question as to whether or not it works. And it was given emergency use authorization by the FDA earlier this year. However, it had never had a randomized controlled trial completed before that point. Just a lot of data, but no controls. And finally, a randomized controlled trial has come out of India. However, there are some issues with that study as well. But the trial found no benefit to the use of convalescent plasma on patients with COVID-19. And this does not go along with other reports of getting the convalescent plasma to patients early, having a benefit in patients recovering sooner. So still, we could use some more studies. People have questions about this one. And of course, it's always going to be up for debate until people really figure it out. But convalescent plasma, this data does not support its use. So Blair, as of now, if you had those antibodies, it wouldn't necessarily help.
Yeah. I thought you had good news. Wait, what happened?
I'm sure there's good news coming. Yeah, that was my little moment to feel like I could actually do something, because I'm the universal recipient. So I feel like always giving blood is helpful, but it feels like the least helpful.
Yes.
And so suddenly I was like, ooh, my plasma, this could be great. But yeah.
I know.
Oh man.
Not so far as the data suggest right now. All right, you might have heard the story this week reporting that people with COVID-19 experience up to 10 years of cognitive loss from having the disease, that you lose 10 years of your ability to think and reason.
Wait.
Well, it's
does
not
that mean-
necessarily the case. Don't jump to conclusions, people. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't go there. So, number one, the study that everybody is talking about is a non-peer-reviewed preprint. Not peer-reviewed. Not peer-reviewed. I mean, it could have been anything. It's fine. Okay, it's a study. It has the suggestive power. Okay, so
where is it from?
where is it from? It's out of the UK. It was published in the Med Archive. It's out of the Department of Brain Sciences, Imperial College London, Department of Psychiatry, University of Southampton, University of Cambridge, University of Chicago, King's College London. So, I mean, we've got some good universities and names
That all sounds
behind
good.
it. Right.
The part that's a little difficult is saying, I get it. It's not a 10-year trend of cognitive deficits. It's a apparent 10-year aging of the brain that they were
Yes.
sort of by testing
Yes.
like where you would be with some sort of cognitive decline. It put you 10 years ahead of your actual age. Okay.
Yes, they say people from their abstract, people who had recovered, including those no longer reporting symptoms, exhibited significant cognitive deficits when controlling for age, gender, education level, income, racial ethnic group, and pre-existing mental disorders. They were of substantial size for people who had been hospitalized, but also for mild but biologically confirmed cases who reported no breathing difficulty. And finer-grained analyses of performance support the hypothesis that COVID-19 has a multi-system impact on human cognition. Now, this is where where we have to get into what exactly they did. They analyzed cognitive test data from almost 85,000 Great British Intelligence Test participants. They completed a questionnaire regarding suspected and biologically confirmed COVID-19 infection as well. They did not have people take this test and then come back later and take the test again. So this is not we saw this occur with COVID-19 where we did not see it occur without COVID-19 and we have a pre-test and a post-test. No. This is, they took individuals and they controlled across single tests. This was just single individuals, only testing one time. This is absolute correlation. It is not causative whatsoever.
But the difficulty, of course, is like you can't give COVID to humans and then test them after you've given the initial
No, but
test.
you could. I mean,
No.
our infection rate is high enough. You could make a huge number of people take this test, and then the people who just happen to get it, you test them after they get better.
I totally agree with that. That would be a smarter way to do it.
I mean, it could be that there is just a 10-year brain age difference or testability difference in the people that took the test who had COVID and those who didn't.
That's what I was thinking too. Is like the
be.
people who are on the front lines, let's say, who maybe are more likely to get COVID, might have just a harder life beforehand.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, it has absolutely been primarily a working class disease. I absolutely agree with that. However, problem with the correlation is that it's not scientifically sound. The strength of the correlation is that it gives you an interesting place to investigate further. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it rules out at all the fact that it was correlative and that it's in the preprint or whatever. But I do think that it means that there is probably something worth looking into further. It's not a conclusion.
Yeah, and so this is what I wanted people to think about. Number one, not peer reviewed. Number two, correlation, not causation. We only have one test point, and just a large sample of people. There is a lot that is unknown. And yes, Justin, your point is well taken, that this might be an interesting place to start, but it does not warrant the sensational headlines of the last couple of days saying, COVID's going to age your brain by 10 years. That still is speculative.
It's a leap.
And it's a leap. Yeah.
But you could also just as easily then I suppose say that based on correlations, it may be that people with some sort of mental cognitive deficit are more likely to get COVID. Because if you're skipping precautions, if you're doing high risk things, if you're a low information person who it's not cognitively deficit necessarily, but if you're low information, like I heard there's a virus, but I won't listen to that anymore, or figure out what I can do to protect myself. It's very possible that you're more likely to get COVID if you're low information absorption.
There is so much we don't know, and it needs to be evaluated further before everybody jumps on the sensational speculative bandwagon. That's all I'm saying. So good news. Don't worry about it yet. From our minion, Tom Santa Cruz, we have a study out of the journal Physics of Fluids that supports aerosol transmission, albeit at a slightly reduced likelihood compared to droplet transmission, which is kind of what we've been talking about. But the big thing is that droplet transmission, the fomites, the bigger droplets that spray out of your mouth when you speak and you sing and you shout and you inhale and exhale heavily during exercise, those are the ones that cause the largest amount of transmission. And understanding that is good because we do know that masks tend to block those larger particles better. So mask wearing is probably going to be very effective at continuing to reduce transmission this winter. So wear your masks.
And that comes back to the whole viral load thing we've talked about before, right? There's going to be more virus in a big droplet than in an aerosol. You're just going to get into your body. So that kind of tracks with that kind of thinking.
Also, just don't breathe around other people.
Hold your breath.
Yeah, like if you think you can make it through the elevator ride without inhaling,
don't
try it.
Yeah.
Well, that is why they say on a lot of elevators now, it'll say like no more than 2 people and no unnecessary conversation. Is because talking spreads more.
And there's never been a necessary conversation in an elevator. Yeah, it's when sort
it's
of
functioning. You mean? Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing. Like you stare. Everybody's job is to stare at the floor lights. It's the same sort of rule for like when men are at urinals standing next to each other. You're not supposed to chit chat. You're supposed to just look straight ahead.
Yep.
Ignore the people around you. Wait till you get to your destination or finish your business, and then move on.
Moving on to trick-or-treating. Kids around the country are either really sad because they don't get to trick-or-treat this year, or they are excited because they have some other alternative. What is the situation where you both are? Is it allowed?
I'm pretty sure it's a no-go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the city of Davis is trying to shut down trick-or-treating a long time ago anyway, but
just doesn't like the college students trick-or-treating.
Yeah, it's a little odd. It's not going to happen this year.
No trick-or-treating. Yeah, we have no mandate on whether or not trick-or-treating can happen in our town, our city, but some cities have completely locked it down and said no trick-or-treating, and other places are allowing it. And I think it's good because overall, just having a plan is better than having no plan. And as for advice from science and from This Week in Science as to how to handle the Halloween holidays, if you know that kids might be out looking for candy door to door, it isn't necessarily a bad thing to leave into like bowls or bits or
Kid in my
bags.
neighborhood ends up with the whole thing.
bags of candy outside on the front porch that people can come up and collect on their own if they want to.
First kid by in my neighborhood would have taken.
It's just going to take the whole bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's honor system. Come on, we all have to be good this year. And
Kids
then
don't have an honor system. They have a big bowl of candy system that's going all into the right now. And then
And if you don't want to put that bowl, then maybe you can be an industrious engineer and create some kind of a launch or shoot system.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Just a long
candy
pipe
from a window or a door of your
You're like the
abode
Onceler in the Lorax. Little pail.
honestly, of all the things that people are doing, as long as you're wearing a mask for Halloween and you're outdoors, you should be fine.
Yeah, and
you tend
wash
to
your
go
hands.
in your pod.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, and then just let the candy sit for 3 days, excruciatingly painful as that may be.
I don't know about that, but definitely, wipe it down. But what I was thinking was like definitely not snacking while you're trick-or-treating, which is always the thing to do, right? Is to pop a candy in your mouth as you go from house to house.
Yeah.
That's
when did
probably
you
a
grow
bad
up?
idea.
That's out.
When did you grow up, Blair? When I was a kid,
I was trick-or-treating in the 90s.
They checked our candy for razor blades.
Oh, the razor blade thing. Yes, that happened during my childhood as well.
Like drugs, like they would went through this forensic scanning on the kitchen counter, which I always suspected was just a way for my mom to take out her favorites. But still.
Didn't they discover that was never really a thing, right? But
a lot of stuff was never really a thing.
It was. I was trick-or-treating right in the heart of that, so they just said only prepackaged stuff that looked like it hadn't been tampered with. Then you could eat it right away.
Right. But that, as you said, Blair, is not a good idea.
Right.
Don't snack while you trick-or-treat, and make sure you bring it home. If you can wait, let it sit for a day or two. If you have a spray bottle of alcohol, you can probably spray the outsides of all of the packaging, and that might do a little bit to kill some virus. Make sure you wash your hands for sure before you
just daintily open the wrapper and then use some chopsticks to eat the candy.
Chopsticks.
Or just wait. Can't you just wait 3 days?
Go ahead, tell a child just home from trick-or-treating, still in their outfit, to wait to eat their candy. See how that goes. Are you going to do that, Justin? Is that your plan?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, nobody's going trick-or-treating. But that would be the plan. It would be a great character building.
The marshmallow experiment, right?
Yeah.
From the side of alternatives to trick-or-treating, there are a lot of people being creative with scavenger hunts and some Easter egg hunts, but it's trick-or-treating hunts in backyards and houses, and having kids search for candy in your homes, having scavenger hunts outdoors in places that are away from lots of people and lots of other hands with things that you've hidden, so that it's easy for the kids. There are lots of ways for the kids to have costume and play and trick-or-treating and enjoy the Halloween holiday. There are so many wonderful things out there. We can still have our fear and our fun.
Shoe Brew in the chat room has an amazing idea, which is just, if you are going trick-or-treating, buy a couple of bags of candy and hide it, and then switch it out when you get home, and they tie them over with that for a while.
That would absolutely not work on my kids.
Or if you
they are tracking, because they do this whole barter system afterwards, where they swap out the candy. So they already are in their head oh, I got 3 of these, I got 6 of those, I got 5 of that one that's going to bring me all the other stuff that I like that didn't end up in my bag. They're so on it. They're like little Wall Street or stock exchange people at the end of a night of trick-or-treating.
Of course. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that one thing you could do is instead of having a bag of candy at home, so you can have the trick-or-treating candy snacks, have your pockets, just fill your pockets with candy before you leave the house even. And then you can just give your kids candy snacks so they can get a trick-or-treating sugar high
just walk
as
along
you go.
and then stop in front of a house, give them some candy, walk to the next house. Doesn't look like they're home. We'll go to the next house.
We'll go to the
throw
next
some
house.
Candy in the bag.
Here,
Yeah.
have
I
some
like
more.
it. I like it.
Yeah.
That might be doable. Yeah.
It's more of a parade.
Yeah, there are lots of ideas. Be safe. I do hope that everyone continues to act like a vampire. Keep your social distance. Let's wear those masks.
And not
And
like this,
wash your
one that actually
hands.
covers your mouth. The mask I'm
Be
wearing would not be
safe.
sufficient right now.
Be safe this Halloween. Whee! This is This Week in Science. You want to help TWIS grow? Get a friend to subscribe today. Oh, hey. You know what time it is. It's time for my computer to be asleep while I'm trying to set up a different section of the show. My computer likes to do it.
That's fine. I got you. I can do it.
No,
I can
I'm
do
ready.
it.
I'm ready for...
Blair's Animal Corner with Blair. Oh, you're right.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. If you want to hear about animals, she's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. There's Animal Corner.
Got Blair.
I have a home invasion under the
Ah.
sea.
Under the sea.
Oh no.
Take
This
it
is-
from me, right?
This is a study from the University of Exeter and Duke University looking at a fan favorite mantis shrimp and their the way that they find their home. So they have burrows in coral rubble, and they use that burrow as a shelter, as a place to feed, as a place to molt when they lose their hardened exoskeleton and they have to harden their interior, and so they're kind of extra kind of susceptible to predation. It's where they mate, it's where they lay eggs. And so the competition for the perfect burrow is fierce. They need to be big enough to fit into, but also small enough so that they can use their armored tail to block the entrance well enough. And this group of scientists wanted to find out what made the perfect burrow size. And they found that when you just kind of put a bunch of empty burrows out for a mantis shrimp, they chose the larger than ideal home, probably because they thought they were going to grow a little bit. So they wanted to like grow into it. However, when they had to fight for a burrow that was currently occupied, they had a different tactic. So they found that overall, resident mantis shrimps won the fights 69% of the time against intruders. So if you're going to try to steal a burrow from another mantis shrimp, the odds are against you to start off with. But this is what's very interesting. When the intruders fought burrows that were slightly smaller than what the researchers kind of had calculated would be the ideal size, they actually won 67% of the time. If the burrows were much smaller or much larger than the intruder's ideal size, the victory rate dropped to 13%. So it's a very specific kind of Goldilocks scenario. What is the perfect size of a new burrow? But also beyond that, if they're going to fight for it, they want to fight for a slightly smaller one. And they think the reason for that is that a slightly smaller burrow is probably occupied by a smaller shrimp. So, yes.
Bullies. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh.
So they are forcing the little guy out of their home and stealing their home. So they will compromise on size if they think the fight will be easier. And this is the group of mantis shrimp for the mantis shrimp aficionados. We know that there are stabbers and smashers. These are the smashers. These are the ones with the big
smashers.
club that they can reach a speed of over 50 miles an hour and create a flash of light by vaporizing water on contact. So they will kind of bang, bang, bang to try to punch the mantis shrimp. And then when they curl up, then they use their tail as a shield. So it's kind of like it's they have their hammer and then they have their shield of their tail. And between that, they're trying to fight for their space. So it really seemed like when intruders triumphed, it was because they succeeded in throwing the first punch and delivering more strikes overall, which is just like how you win a fight, I guess. But overall, it's
how they win a fight is
Yeah.
by fighting somebody smaller than them.
also that picking on the little guy. And there's
the little one.
Kiki, if you click on the story, there's actually a video. You can watch one of the fights happening, which is pretty funny. So
We'll try to find that.
yeah. So basically, you can see these guys kind of. I think this is an unsuccessful attempt to get into one of those burrows, but you can see how they use their tail to kind of protect, and then they kind of end up cowering away from the burrow. They didn't quite make it, but anyway,
I can't get it to open.
that's okay. So everyone just go to TWIS.org and check out our show notes and click on the link for this story, and you'll see the quite entertaining video. Just kind of like, let me in there. No? Okay, never mind.
Never mind. I'm good. No.
Never mind. As you were.
Talk to the tail.
Yeah. And speaking of invasions, the other Animal Corner story I have for tonight is about the invasion of mole rats and the following kidnapping of children. Yes.
Naked mole rats kidnapping children. It's a QAnon plot.
Yes, it's
No,
except it's mole rat children also.
Mole rat.
It's-
Oh, mole rat children.
It's not human children. Thank goodness. This is
right.
this is a trio of researchers from Washington University, St. Louis, the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission, and San Francisco State University. And they found that invading mole rats will kidnap pups from the colonies they conquer. This was the results of a decade-long study of mole rats in the wild in a national park in Kenya. So in prior research in a lab, they've seen captive mole rats stealing pups from rivals, but this is the first time seeing this kind of very wild behavior in the wild. in this effort, they had this long-term study in their native environment. And so in order to kind of be able to manipulate variables, in this national park, they captured and marked multiple mole rats from several colonies so that they could kind of follow them and watch their movements. And they noticed one day that there were pups from one colony that all of a sudden were in another. And it looked as though they had been taken forcefully. And mole rats, if you don't know, they can live in colonies with populations up to 300 individuals. And those colonies, they don't build overnight. So they have workers and queens who produce the workers. But if you want to grow your numbers quickly, the larger colony is usually the one that can triumph over a space. And so they actually can steal pups from other colonies to increase their numbers. It's not a spite thing. It's not a dominance thing. It's not a gene pool manipulation thing. It seems like they just are trying to get to be the bigger colony as quickly as possible. And they've also shown that just in general, bigger colonies do better in the wild. Not even just competing with each other for space, but just in general, the colony does better if there's more of them. More workers makes sense.
Yeah, more workers.
It is interesting that they use these pups as workers. As far as they can tell, they don't become part of the breeding structure. So you're still maintaining your gene pool, but you're increasing your numbers for workload.
So they are co-opting the baby mole rats from other colonies, not letting them reproduce and making them work. So they really they're enslaving them. They're little mole rat slaves.
Although they probably don't know, because they're probably just raised from such a young age in that other colony that they're just another worker rat.
I mean,
probably.
Do they ever notice that they don't get to carpe the diem?
Well, I think most workers don't get to do that.
Yeah.
So probably is not that different.
So that's not fair.
Nature's not fair. That's how evolution works, is unfairness, basically. So
I would like to know how they maintain these kidnapped individuals as part of the colony, and that do they become integrated? They obviously don't become fully integrated. They're somehow in the colony but separate.
Well, so then my first question is, do the other born there moats, are they also not breeding?
The gray majority, yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's just what it's like to start at the bottom.
Exactly. Yeah, they're low on the totem pole, basically. Yeah.
They're not low on the totem pole. They are very, very important for the infrastructure of that colony.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like there needs to be some change in mole rat society.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how.
You want a mole rat democracy?
Yeah, it's not democracy necessarily. Let's not go that far. Just a little bit more. Everybody should be able to reproduce in a society. That's
I have some bad news
it's good
about
to be the queen.
Animal Kingdom, Justin. If that's what you're worried about.
Yeah.
Don't look too close at most hoofstock or primates. In fact, not good news, especially for males. So.
Yeah, is in the naked mole rats, their reproductive structure is actually fairly interesting in that they do have a queen who is it's like an insect hive almost, where the queen is like a bee queen or an ant queen, where that is right. the female who is the reproductive female.
Right. Yeah, so she's in charge.
But she only selects a certain class of other mole rat to breed with?
Yeah, so she, usually through chemical cues, tries to find a lesser related male to make sure that the gene pool is good and healthy. And so,
wouldn't that be the integrated other colony mole rat?
That's a good question.
That's weird.
I think that would be a good thing to look at for a future study.
The next 10 years.
Yeah, is maybe they do end up integrating fully genetically into the situation over time, but
I guess the females aren't breeding then, but the males seem like they would be first in line.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know a whole lot about it. I do know that they do have kind of a social structure where they can sniff each other and know who is kind of quote unquote more important. And the more important mole rat goes on over, like if they come face to face in a tunnel, the quote unquote more important mole rat gets to climb over the less important mole rat as they pass.
Right. Right. Yeah. I feel like there needs to be like what's its name? Is it McMonkey, McBean? Whoever did the Sneetches stars, like to go
That's Dr. Seuss. Come on.
What's Dr. Seuss? But it's I think that I can't remember the name of the guy who was putting the stars on Sneetches. But an experiment like that where you neutralize scent differences between them all. And just see what takes place. See how it disrupts society.
See what happens. It would disrupt society like crazy.
Yeah.
It really would because they use their scent for everything. It's very important. It's fascinating, Blair.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a nightmare society that I do not want to be a part of. How's that?
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
That would be terrible to be in a society that had tiers of access to social resources within that group that were so disparately different between the top and the bottom. That would be such a nightmare scenario.
Oh, what? This is This Week in Science. Big reminder, the calendars are out. If you're interested in a 2021 This Week in Science Blair's Animal Corner calendar, they are ready for order. Head to TWIS.org. Click on the big toad to get your order today. And while you're there, please help support TWIS. Your support is what keeps this show going. You allow us to be able to reach out to people and bring science and conversation and a little clarity and sanity to the world. You are the reason we're able to do this. We are a listener-supported show, so it's all you. So be a part of making that happen. If you're not supporting us already or you want to make a change to how you support us, click on the Patreon link at twis.org and choose your level of support. $10 and above is how we know who to thank at the end of the show. $10 and more, we thank you by name at the end of the show, if you want to be thanked, of course. So thank you for being a part of bringing sanity and science to people. Thank you for making this show possible. We really can't do it without you. All right, coming back in. You know whose turn it is. Justin, what you got?
I'm not ready. Oh yeah, I'm ready. Okay, so the following story caught my eye because one, it seems really odd, and two, I've been noticing this for years.
And you never told us before? Come on.
No, I never. I've mentioned it at the opportune times when you guys aren't around, but it's been like sort of a thing for a long time that's been on my mind. Very recently, in fact, because this story I got to back up. 200 years ago, a German physician, Karl Wunderlich, established through testing all of his patients that 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius, which you probably used, was the standard normal body temperature. That's what temperature everybody was. Since then, that has sort of been used by parents, school nurses, doctors, anyone wondering whether or not they might have a fever as to, 98.6, I'm fine. Over time, however, and much more in recent years, lower body temperatures have been widely reported in healthy adults. 2017 study among 35,000 adults in the United Kingdom found the average body temperature to be not 98.6 or 37 Celsius, but 97.9 Fahrenheit and 36.6 Celsius. That doesn't seem like a lot, but that was like the new average. Okay. So in a 2019 study, they studied people mostly, I think, in the sort of Bay Area, Southern Bay Area, in California. And they found the average to be 97.5 degrees Fahrenheit or 36.4 Celsius. So that's what blows my mind. I am consistently about 97.4 or 36.3 in Celsius. Consistently now. And this is only really come up a lot lately because of the COVID times. And so you feel a little weird, you go take your temperature. There I am, still at the 36.3 or whatever. Which is just below the current chill average in California. It's also the lowest I've ever averaged, but it seems to have drifted down from what used to be an extremely reliable 98.6. So until I saw this study, I thought, hey, maybe they just don't make thermometers like they used to. Maybe the thermometers are just all junk.
They're not using mercury anymore.
Yeah,
Come
the
on.
cheap digital versus the good old mercury. Of
Well,
the
but what
youth.
about like the super fancy temperature machines in the doctor's office?
Those ones too, and then the ear one is the one I've been using. It's also low. So I figured it was just that.
I can tell you, I've been 97.7 my whole life.
Okay, well that's down there near the California average. You're just above it. But I guarantee you, I was a 98.6 for forever, except maybe it's kind of drifted down to this lowest point it's ever been. Anyway, that's why this, I was freakishly consistent at 98.6 as a youth. I also had this idea that maybe we had calibrated these mercury thermometers to what body temperature was, and maybe they were wrong. Right. And just everybody figured out they're wrong. Let's say the new digital is actually more accurate, and this is what normal body temperature actually is, and that's why it was always lower. Anyway, A multinational team of physicians, anthropologists, local researchers led by Michael Gervin, UC Santa Barbara professor of anthropology and the chair of the campus's Integrative Anthropological Sciences Unit, and Thomas Kraft, a postdoctoral researcher in the same department. They found similar decreases that I am describing among the Chimane indigenous population of forager horticulturists in the Bolivian Amazon. In the 16 years since they have been studying them, they have observed a rapid decline in average body temperature, a 0.09 degree Fahrenheit per year, such that the Chimane body temperatures now are roughly 97.7 or 36.5 Celsius. So they've actually seen this drift in a population in just the last 16 years. In less than 2 decades, we're seeing, this is quoting quotey voice of Gervin, in less than 2 decades, we're seeing about the same level of decline as that observed in the U.S. over approximately 2 centuries, although I think I've just experienced this over this same period of time. Their analysis is based on a sample size of 18,000 observations of 5,500 adults. They adjust for multiple other factors that might affect body temperature, ambient temperature outside, body mass, that sort of thing. And the research now appears in the journal Science Advances. So there, let's see, let me skip some of this. This is Kraft. No matter how we did the analysis, the decline was still there, even when we restricted analysis to the 10% of adults who were diagnosed by physicians as completely healthy. We still observe the same decline in body temperature over time. So why is this happening? Why is there global cooling taking place within humans? According to Gervin, the finding of lower than expected body temperatures in the U.S. and the decline over time had a lot of people scratching their heads like, is this a fluke? What happened? In the study, they confirmed that the body temperatures below 98.6 are found in places outside the U.S., the U.K., and the area in Bolivia where the Chimane live is rural. It's tropical, minimal public health infrastructure.
They're probably not popping NSAIDs and anti-inflammatories all the time.
Yes, but that was part of the first theory. Is like, it's the access to drugs and and using anti blah 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 blah. Like all of these modern world is required the indoor climate controls and the blah 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 blah. All those
but this
possible
population,
blah, 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 blah.
That's not happening.
And this population has none of that.
Yeah,
and they're seeing it. Yeah, so they're saying body temperature is simple to measure. We could easily add this to large-scale surveys. Researchers themselves point out some potential improvements to the future studies. First, they did not use the same thermometer over the entire study period, but of course, 16 years with the same thermometers, pretty long time to have a thermometer. Although they did use the same type of thermometer the whole time. It just wasn't the same one. So there is a little element of like, maybe something has changed in thermometers. I don't know. First, the second sample size was smaller in the earliest study years and kind of grew with time. Third, we did not account for pregnancy or lactation, although it didn't come up fluctuate if you just looked at those and isolated them. Fourth, we did not account for hydration status of participants, which could affect body temperature to some degree. And lastly, they did not record time of day, although all of their temperature takings were between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. throughout the entire study period. So it didn't likely really directionally bias it. But the fact that they're seeing it there in the United States, in the UK, it's one of those things that's like, I kind of noticed this was taking place at my own
for you
body
personally.
Temperature. Yeah, me personally. But, maybe it's the thermometers. I don't really normally check that often. It might be once a year that I would take a temperature. But now I've been doing it a lot, and I'm like, I'm a low body temperature person all of a sudden.
So the question about
Turns
this
out I'm
is
California average.
Why? Is it because the temperatures are going up globally? Is there greater humidity? Why are humans cooling down?
So the answer is
we don't know.
They don't know.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking too, is the planet's getting hotter, but also a huge number of human beings now live in climate controlled existence.
Yeah.
So your body has to work less hard to maintain temperature.
Yes. And it could
I'm
be
going to
because
guess
people
these-
are all healthier. It could be because we spend less time having infections. It could be
That
all of these
would
things,
be,
except
yeah.
that this group in Bolivia
Right.
has none of that going on.
Yeah.
They still actually have a morbidity factor associated with infections. They have their climate control is blankets, and like none of the things that people could have been. We should follow this, that, or the other. None of that exists there, and yet that trend is taking place. I'm kind of then wondering if there isn't some global viral microbiotic thing that's taken place that just has downregulated humans to have a lower body temperature to keep it comfortable. I don't know, but it seems like a really weird thing to be taking place globally and nobody really noticing or talking about until this study. I guess they've been studying it for a little
They've
while.
been studying it, but
Have you heard about global human cooling?
yes, I
You
have
have
heard
heard about
about it. Yeah, I have heard about.
wow.
I have heard about it previously, but this is a very interesting study in the population that they're adding to it. So yeah, very interesting. I've always kind of been whatever. My temperature goes up, my temperature goes down. My temperature does temperature things. It's all around 98.6. I'm always,
Okay.
it's always there's always error bars in everything. I just assume there are error bars in measurement always. So I'm like, it's close enough.
But I mean, again, I
Fudge
used
factors.
to be ridiculously hitting that 98.6. Not 98.4, not 98.8, 98.6.
You are an anecdote. The whole
I absolutely am.
All of the people are. It's an interesting story.
I absolutely am,
together.
except that the fact that this weird low temperature that I'm consistently getting hits the California average. So that makes it feel like, even though we need a lot more research and study, but it makes it definitely feel like
California.
something in the water. I don't know. In the air. What is it? I don't know.
I can't tell you. There's a lot of smoke in the air, that's for sure. It's hot right now. Hot in California. But I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Justin, do you have any more stories? Do you have one more?
You want to be scared?
Yeah, are you going to scare me now?
Oh, I forgot. I had a teaser. For people who like babies, new research shows that high levels of microplastics are released from infant feeding bottles. So formula or even the pumped breast milk containers are pumping babies, full of microplastics. Research also indicates a strong relationship between heat and microplastic release. Ta-da! We knew that. Warmer liquids, far greater release of microplastics. So let's see. Let me get down to key findings. This is sort of important stuff. Okay, so they estimate exposure to 12-month-old patients to microplastics in 48 countries and regions and have published their findings in the high-profile journal Nature Food.
So I just want people to know that, the same way you like to let people know, that when there's something that's like that's like a meter, that's like 3 feet, that a 12-month-old patient, that is the same as a 1-year-old baby.
Correct.
Yes,
In most countries.
Okay.
In most countries.
We needed to clarify that.
In most countries, yes. In some countries, they are beginning their second year. So the team undertook a global survey, and they estimated this in the microplastics in the 48 regions. Following the current guidelines for infant feeding, bottle sterilization, and feeding formula preparation, the average daily exposure for infants is in excess of 1 million microplastic particle thingies per day. However, in Oceania, it was 2.1 million. In North America, 2.3 million. Europe was 2.6 million particles per day. So the level of these microplastics can be reduced by following a modified sterilization and formula preparation procedures. Their recommended sterilization and formula preparation procedures are sterilizing infant feeding bottles. Sterilize the bottle with these new World Health Organization recommended guidelines and allow to cool. Prepare sterilized water by boiling in a non-plastic container, rinsing the sterilized bottle with the boiling water, and then rinsing it out with cooled off sterilized water 3 times. For preparing the infant formula, prepare hot water using, again, non-plastic kettle cooker, and prepare infant formula in non-plastic containers using at least 70-degree C water. Cool to room temperature. Transfer to prepared formula in a high-quality plastic infant feeding bag.
So what I'm hearing here is that
don't heat plastic.
Yeah, don't heat it. Or if you heat it, you can sterilize the bottle, so you can put it in boiling water in a kettle or whatever and boil it with the water, but then let it cool so that the plastic is not hot when you put anything in it. So it's just not it's not hot. Hot plastic is plastic that moves.
Yes. So I think what they're saying is it's okay to use that hot water, but then you have to let the water you boiled
cool it
out all the way, and then use that.
Rinse it off. Yeah. Room temperature sterilized water. Rinse the plasticky bottles after they've been sterilized so that you get any plasticky bits off of them that would be transferred to food. So that, yeah.
So
it's a process
I mean,
cleaning the surface.
I don't have a baby, so I don't know. But do they make like glass?
Yes.
Bottles.
If you have access to glass bottles, use glass because that would be different. Yes.
But I think, pumping mechanisms are usually all plastic, so that's probably where things
pretty much everything surrounding. And they've tried to take out all the harmful stuff, but if it's plastic, it's plastic. That's the thing that's going to be.
Yeah, but then also, like, how many microplastics am I ingesting every time I wash my plastic water bottle that's supposed to be BPA free or whatever, but then still it's probably releasing plastic particles if I'm heating it up. So then this would be good stuff to consider for that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, agreed.
Agreed. But so at 70 degrees Celsius, they found 16.2 million particles per liter. When they increased the temperature to 95 C, which is boiling in a little bit more, they got as much as 55 million. So that increased temperature
releases the plastic. Release the plastic.
So there's just another thing to put on the list of things to worry about when you're having a baby.
Room temperature water was about 600,000 parts per liter, so much Reduced. Incredible. Like, it's like Richter scale magnitudinal decreases.
This goes along with like a lot of the stories that we've talked about over the years, where there have been the studies finding that you microwave your food in plastic, then the plastics are getting released into your food. If you have food that's in plastic wrapping, but it gets heated just, by the sun or by temperature, that those plastics can release into your food. So this is just along the lines of all of that research, this heating plastic, that especially if you're dealing with an infant whose hormones, microbiome are going to be affected by these plastics, and that's going to affect their development potentially, you really want to take care. Thanks for scaring us, Justin.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yay. Okay, now that we're all scared, I think we might be able to get rid of some of these fears.
Yes.
Researchers are trying to figure out how to get rid of fears. Sometimes you have fear that is debilitating, that won't go away. Halloween, seriously, clowns, I don't want to see them. Don't want to have anything to do with that. But through fear extinction learning, that's like exposure to a fear-inducing stimulus over a period of time. You extinguish the fear through a learning procedure over time, getting rid of that fear response. It's great. You can move on with your life and not be stifled by that fear, which would be pretty awesome. Could be very awesome. So researchers publishing this week from McLean Hospital and Massachusetts General Hospital they published in Nature Communications on neurons in the amygdala, the central amygdala. And we've talked about the amygdala in the brain before. It is the fear-focused part of the brain. This is the part that the amygdala fires up, your fear response gets going. This is your fight or flight response. It is involved in all sorts of psychiatric responses. And in looking at this, they were trying to figure out what mechanisms are involved in the extinction of fear response. So they were examining how different gene pathways get activated within neurons in the amygdala. They looked at specific neurons called corticotropin releasing hormones. Corticotropin are releasing hormones. They start the pathway for releasing your stress hormone, corticosterone, and then the stress fear response gets started. And so they're like, okay, how does gene expression work to mitigate this? And by checking out these amygdalar neurons, they were able to discover that there is a mechanistic molecule, a regulatory gene called CREB. This CREB it codes for a protein called cyclic AMP response element binding protein. Blah, blah, lots of names. And when CREB gets overexpressed in these corticotropin releasing neurons, the mice in their experiment got way more afraid. They were super afraid. And so then they were able to reduce the CREB through experimental methods. And when they did that, the mice had a reduced fear response. And so based on their studies, they're thinking that they could focus on CREB as a target for controlling fear and potentially leading to mitigating treatments that can make people live less fearful lives.
Or create super soldiers. Hey,
Oh,
who
that
knows?
too!
Who
Yay!
knows how the future?
I mean, I think about that, and I think about how, like, it would be great to get rid of fear, but of course we need fear. We can't get rid of all fear. That would be
We don't
bad.
want to get, yeah.
That's part of what keeps us alive. But if you have a debilitating fear of flying and you need to get on an airplane, that would be super helpful. Or needles.
People who have, needles, agoraphobia, just fear of the outdoors. You know, there are so many fears that can lead to real disruptions in life. And if you can, and sometimes the cognitive behavioral therapies, the things that therapeutically, behaviorally, we try to lead to extinction, reassignment of the reassociation of the fear memory. So it, instead of being fearful, it becomes a better memory over time. It's hard and it doesn't always work. And perhaps there are other ways that it can be done. Or maybe it'll help with super soldiers. Right, Justin?
Aside from cats, I don't really have any big fears that are considered unreasonable. But I have a lot of things that I would consider cautious nature sort of things. I would be afraid of the thing overriding a good conscientious cautiousness about danger in a day-to-day environment.
Yeah, well, one thing about CREB and this cyclic AMP response binding protein, this is not only found in these neurons in the central amygdala, too. So you'd have to make sure that if you were targeting a response, it's really targeted. CREB is found in neurons all over the place. It's found in cells all over the place. This is a big one. So it could have off-target effects that would be negative side effects.
Yeah, I don't want an air traffic controller taking this. I wouldn't want somebody who's and I wouldn't recommend this to electricians or people who work on communication towers, maybe, or people who have some sort of high-risk job. I would think that there's a healthy amount of sort of fear of what you're working with that
But I think
keeps you safe.
I think that plays into the extinction piece, because if you do something enough, you become less afraid of it over time.
Right.
So in those cases, if you're working on telephone poles every day, you're probably, even if you started a little bit afraid of heights, you're probably not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, except you still
That's
have like
good.
story that I'm sure they told you when you were in training camp or whatever it is about the awful things that happen to people who forgot the protocols. Right?
It's if I may,
Yeah.
I've worked with dangerous animals, and I've worked with people who've worked with dangerous animals for decades, and you keep a healthy respect and you know about the fear you're supposed to have, but you cannot help but build complacency to a certain extent if you're around it all day, every day, because it is exposure.
Yes, there is that, but I will say there are different personality types as well. And I did gymnastics as a child, and there's a point when you get to balance beam and floor, all of the events really starting to do much more advanced
Triple axle,
moves.
balance
Right.
beam, dismount, flips.
Right, when you start doing back handsprings on the balance beam, when you start doing double backs, full twisting tricks on the floor, giants on the high bar, these are all things that they're dangerous, and you have to really trust your physical ability, and you have to trust your coaches, and you know you're going to mess up sometimes.
Okay. If you're in
and that was
gymnastics, don't trust your coaches. That's number one.
right.
No, there's higher
too
rates of
soon.
injury. No, I didn't mean that. Sorry. Let me clarify this. We covered this on the show before. There
Yeah,
are
higher rates in gymnastics.
of injury, of hospital taking injuries in girls gymnastics
Yeah.
than
Football.
there are in
Yeah.
professional hockey.
Yeah.
It's more dangerous.
But what I was going to say, it is dangerous, but you at a certain
Violent.
point make up you decide whether or not you're able to move forward with the fear of
there's
some
no,
of those moves. And there's
no
a certain
peer
point.
pressure.
There's
There's
it's
no
all
desire
inside
to
you, and it's
overcome your
you.
fear and safety to please the coach. That never happens.
There was a point where I went, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I'm afraid, and I'm okay with that. My fear wins, and it is good. But not just fear, there's also anxiety. What's the difference between fear and anxiety?
So
Anxiety's all in your head. Like fear could be
Right.
more of like an external stimulus,
Yeah.
and you could swell in your own anxiety for hours just sitting on your couch.
that's
Right.
true.
So
I've got an example.
fear is certain, and anxiety is uncertain.
Yeah, this is when I started pole vaulting in high school, and like on the first day of pole vaulting practice, this new coach told this story about pole snapping and somebody getting skewered by the thing. Now, I didn't have a chance to Google anything back then, so I didn't get to find out that was like happened once in the history of pole vaulting, and that it's been done thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of times without any that stuff happening. So I overcame the fear and continued to practice, but the anxiety never left. Every
Yeah.
time that pole hit and I felt the bend, there was this like, don't break, don't break, don't break.
The anxiety is there because it's uncertain. Is it going to happen this time?
Is this the
It's
one?
not that you know you're running and when it hits the ground, it is going to break and you're just waiting until the point that you do that. It's certain. No, it's uncertain. So researchers publishing this week in the Journal of Neuroscience were studying this difference between fear and anxiety. And apparently there is an overarching criteria. It's called the Research Domain Criteria Framework, and it currently guides the U.S. National Institute of Mental Health's like how they are trying to discover brain circuitry that underlies different disorders like anxiety and depression and other mental illnesses. And so they were looking at this, and there's a lot of evidence already that suggests that well, based on this framework, fear and anxiety exist in two separate neural circuits. But there's been a lot of evidence recently that suggests that they don't, yet it's not yet been exemplified in this framework that the U.S. National Institute of Mental Health uses to guide everything that they do. And so in this study, they really wanted to nail down whether or not there are different circuits at work. And so they shocked people, because that's what you do when you need to figure out fear in people.
It does seem like they find an excuse.
You apply electric shocks.
No, this is a vision study. But shouldn't we should shock them to see how it affects their vision. No, we'll save it for the one where we're doing fear and anxiety.
Yeah, it's like Venkman from Ghostbusters, Yeah, just applying the shocks. But what they ended up doing is they had different groups of people where they had a threat of a painful electrical shock. And the threat was either signaled by a countdown timer that went 3,
oh God,
2, 1, and then they got a shot. So it was a certainty that they would get this painful shock. Or there was a random string of numbers like 17, 5, 37, 9, and then the shock.
No, that's worse. I think that's worse.
And then the shock would be applied at some time that they didn't know after what number it would come, but it would come. So that was their uncertain threat for anxiety. And while they were doing this, yes, they were looking at their brains, and they looked very carefully at regions of the amygdala that we were talking about, and also a different area of the brain called the bed nucleus of the stria terminalis, the BNST. And when they were looking at these areas and doing the shocks, they ended up discovering that, lo and behold, they pretty much respond exactly the same. That there is really no underlying neural difference between the two regions that our National Institute, the NIM, US NIM, currently says there is a difference between fear and anxiety, and that anxiety is in the BNST and fear is in the amygdala. This study says no, absolutely, there is no difference in how these circuits respond to the certain and the uncertain threats. And so they say that based on their research and based on their work and the work of others, that our guidelines for how we deal with mental health need to be changed.
Yeah, but
how we study it.
Okay, so this is good, but does that? The only thing is, the differentiation, at least in my brain, of fear versus an anxiety would be, like the dream I have where I'm walking along and I sit down at a bench at a park, and then I notice that right across the path there's a mountain lion who's just lounging there, paying attention to me. Dude, that's fear. Do I try to fight a mountain lion? No, I need to run. But not run too fast because it might chase me. Like, what do I do? Try to look bigger than I am. Whatever. That's like an immediate reaction type of like, what do I do right now in this instant? Fight or flight. Versus an anxiety, it feels like I'm running something over and over in my mind on this like loop. And it's just going to keep bugging me. And it's not a fight or flight thing. It's I can't run away from it, and I can't really like knock it down because right now it's just in my head. So how is it the same circuitry if it's affecting? If I'm not experiencing that immediate fight or flight adrenaline rush that I'm getting from fear, where is it?
I feel like our response is way different, right? So what I was thinking about related to kind of this study model was there are some people who, when they go and get a shot, don't want to know when it's coming. They want to look away. And they want it to just kind of be a surprise when it happens. And there are other people who want to count down and like 3, 2, 1, poke, right? Mm-hmm. And I am one of the people who likes to know when it's coming. Makes a huge difference for me. I spent a couple hours in the dentist chair yesterday, and that was a big bummer. But I've had dentists who don't tell you everything that they're doing while they're doing it. And I've had dentists who tell you everything that they're doing while they're doing it. And I do way better with pain and the whatever fear, scariness of what's going on, if I know what's coming and when it's coming. And that doesn't mean that I fear it less. It just kind of means I'm ready for it, right? So like, I could see how they could have similar origins, but I feel like psychologically there are different results.
Right. So it depends on, I mean, this is the beginning of the circuit of your psychological response, fear or anxiety. It's not the entire circuit. This is just that one part of the brain. Like these are networked to various parts of the brain that lead to however you respond to things and how you feel. But I'm thinking of fear and anxiety as, it's the fear of getting up in front of a crowd and talking, or the fear of talking in front of a microphone. These are just you're afraid of doing it, versus the anxiety of thinking about, oh, what if I say something off? What if I embarrass myself? What if this happens? What if that happens? And you just run through all the possibilities. What if this? What if that? And you can't stop it. That's still leading you. It's leading you up to that fear, but then kind of backing off just a bit because it's not certain, because it doesn't have a certainty to it. It's very uncertain.
somewhere in the brain there's a desk that this initial trigger comes across, and you go, is it something we can do about? Anything about? Can we do anything about this right now? No. Send it back. Let it loop around again. That's anxiety. Can we do anything about it? Not right now. Send it back.
Yeah. But
how
then
about
it gets
now? Oh, that's a big cat. Yeah, we should run.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's exactly it. Can we do? I think that is it. Can we do anything about it now?
Immediately.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, brain.
No wonder anxiety's loop. You can't do anything about it right now.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about it.
Stop thinking about it. You stop thinking about it. You stop thinking about it. Have we come to the end of the show?
Oh my gosh, did we?
Did we make it?
Are we out of stories? What?
I think we're out of stories. We are out of stories. We haven't been hit by an asteroid yet. Halloween is coming. Happy TWIS-o-ween, everyone. It's been fun. All these ghastly and terrifying, fear-inducing, or maybe fixing tales. Science! That's good. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for dressing up, Blair, even though it's hot in San Francisco.
That's all right. It was worth it. It's the only time I'll get to dress up this year, I think. So I'll take it.
Take what we can get.
TWIS-o-ween.
Yes. And I'm going to rattle my chains of our, I don't know. Like I was telling Blair, I'm either a Beastie Boy or Chuck D from Halloweens of the past that you need to enjoy what you got, or I'm a ghost of Halloween past, Halloween of the future, telling us to be careful and socially distance and wear masks and wash our hands.
Look like the lead running back for the 49ers right now.
Okay, there we go. All right, shout outs, everyone. Oh, actually, before shout outs to my wonderful co-hosts who are back. Thank you for coming back safely.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Justin, on safely traversing the air travel of the world to return to the States.
That part was easy. Getting here was easy. The being here is still scarier than anything else I've ever done. Yeah.
And Blair, congratulations on your recent wedding.
Thank you.
You got what? I don't even know about that.
I was wed.
You got married.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thing. And it's been enough days now that I feel like I can sigh some relief that I think it was all
really happened. It was. Yay. All right. We can talk about that more in the after show. All right, shout outs to Fada for helping with social media, show notes, the YouTube chat room. Thank you, Identity4, for recording the show. Thank you, Gord, for manning our main TWIS chat room, keeping that going. Really appreciate that. And thank you to our Patreon sponsors and the Burroughs Welcome Fund for their generous support. Thank you to Chris Wozniak, Dave Dunn, Vegard Sheftad. I did it again. Hal Snyder, Donathan Stiles, a.k.a. Don Stylo, John Scioli, Guillaume, John Lee, Ali Coffin, Maddie Perrin, Gaurav Sharma, Mike Shoemaker, Sarah Forfar, Donald Mundus, Stephen Alberon, Daryl Myshak, Stu Pollock, Andrew Swanson, Fred S104, Corinne Benton, Sky Luke, Paul Ronovich, Ben Bignell, Kevin Reardon, Noodles, Jack Bryan, Carrington, Matt Bass, Joshua Fury, Sean Anita Lamb, John McKee, Greg Riley, Mark Hessenflow, Gene Tellier, Steve Leisman, a.k.a. Zima, Ken Hayes, Howard Tan, Christopher Rappin, Richard Brendan Minish, Melizond, Johnny Grindley, Flying Out, Richard Porter, Christopher Dreyer, Mark Massaros, RDM, Greg Briggs, John Atwood, Melania is a Russian super spy, Greedy Garcia, Dave Wilkinson, Rodney Lewis, Paul, Matt Sutter, Philip Shane, Kurt Larson, Craig Landon, Mountain Sloth, Jim Drapeau, Sarah Chavis, Alex Wilson, John Ratnaswamy, Sue Oster, Jason Olds, Dave Neighbor, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, E.O., Kevin Parachan, Aaron Luthen, Steve DeBell, Bob Calder, Marjorie, Paul Stanton, Paul Disney, Patrick Pecoraro, Ben Rotheg, Gary S. Oh, and happy birthday, Ben Rotheg. Gary S., Tony Steele, Ulysses Adkins, Brian Condren, Jason Roberts, and Dave Friedel. Thank you for all of your support on Patreon. And if you are interested in supporting us on Patreon, you can find information by clicking the Patreon link at TWIS.org. Yeah. And I think we're going to be back again next week. Oh, next week. That's a big week. It'll be a good week for you to be joining us next week. Live.
We will
Hopefully.
be back on Wednesday.
Next week, November 3rd.
8 p.m. Pacific Time, broadcasting live from our YouTube studios at Facebook on the channels where the pods are happening from twis.org/live as well.
That's right. Hey, do you want to listen to us as a podcast? Maybe as you pretend to trick or treat around your desolate neighborhood? Just search for This Week in Science wherever podcasts are found. If you enjoyed the show, get your friends to subscribe as well.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes, the links to stories, all will be available on the glorious website, www.twis.org. You can also, while you're there, sign up for a newsletter, which will come to you periodically.
Yes, it's a periodical. You can also contact us directly. Email Kirsten at kirsten@thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair, me, at blairbaz@twis.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, in the subject line. Your email will get spam filtered into a teeny tiny hole inside of a Death Star, no bigger than a womp rat back home, and you will never see it again.
You can also hit us up on the Twitter where we are at TWIS Science, at Dr. Kiki, at Jacksonfly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover, an interview you would like us to talk to somebody about, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please do let us know.
We'll be back here next week, no matter what, and we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
the fear is all in your head.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world, so I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice, show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand, and all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way, so everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just yet understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. 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 And This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say, and if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 Got a laundry list of items I want to address, from stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. So how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say, and if you've learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
I'm a dork. Harrow. Yeah.
Aren't we all?
Deep inside. Where'd Justin go? He took a break. Yeah. Got my rave glasses on. What I really need are like some really big rimmed, like black square glasses to go with this and the chain. I think that would be amazing. I think I need to get myself a pair. It's always good to have multiple pairs of costume glasses.
Oh, yeah.
What? Daniel Smith. Yes, yes. Time for Star Wars jokes. Hey, Blair, what was the temperature inside a Tauntaun?
Oh, that's really good. Hey, Brian, what was the temperature inside a Tauntaun?
Lukewarm.
Lukewarm, yeah. He knew it.
He knew it. He's like, I got this one.
Of course he knew it. Of course.
Identity 4 has 65 bottles of wine in his house. Going to drink them all.
Then stocking up for next week, huh?
Is that for the holidays or is that all for just next week? Yeah. 65 bottles of wine in my house, 65 bottles of wine. I had an election and then I fell down. 64 bottles of wine on the wall. Yes. Wait. Michael79 says, Blair, you changed the mantle.
I did change the mantle.
What? Someone noticed. You changed the mantle.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, we got some photos back of us, which we didn't have in the house at all. So
none.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There we go. Get it straight.
Nice photos.
Nope, Justin hasn't come back yet. It's nice to have nice photos.
I suppose.
Photos of your life.
The bowling trophy's over.
You guess. I guess I can move them over.
So I don't know if I'll ever bowl again.
You will. You will. We will bowl again. We will bowl. There will be strikes galore. It'll be fine. Maybe not this year. Maybe not next year, but
Justin's yelling and he's
soon.
muted.
You're muted. Why are you muted? I didn't mute you.
I just came in, but I would agree. Let's strike. Except I'm not working right now, so I don't know what. Striking.
I know COVID canceled everything. Okay, we're not going to talk about the election because predicting is. We've seen how that turns out.
Yeah.
Hey, so my what is it? Twitter handle is at JacksonFly, which is it's right there.
Yeah.
At JacksonFly, if you want to hang out with me on election night, maybe. I don't know if you two want to hang out too, but I'd be down for it. Huh?
Science Island?
I don't know. I was just thinking on the Twitter, like hanging out and
on
chatting.
Twitter.
And yeah, like hang out on the Twitter. There's going to be plenty of people probably chatting about the election as it is. Yeah. But maybe we could create a pound sign that we could all that we could all.
So here's the thing, though. Here's the problem with hanging out on election night is we're probably not going to know much.
No, we will. We will. We will know. We will know on election night. Absolutely, definitively, and unquestionably, whether or not our democracy is going to fall apart. So here's how. Here's. I know we weren't talking about this now, but if
you're going to make me feel better, that's fine. Are you going to say something? You can continue this statement if you're going to make me feel better in some way.
It won't end on election night, but it might still be fun to hang out and hold each other's hands.
I need that.
And wipe each other's tears or cheer along. Whatever your politics are, it's fine. You can bring it. But maybe we should create a pound sign. What do you want to call it? Pound sign Science Island? I don't know.
Island.
Pound sign Science Island, and then we can hang out in that little group and just watch the election take place. I think that would be fun.
Mm-hmm. If you wanted to go to Science Island, you could go to Science Island too. But
it doesn't work for me.
It's difficult for some people.
That one, oddly, it will not work on my remote setup out in the farmlands. I don't know why, but it has massive issues out there where Twitter works fine.
Yeah, but not in the farmland. Yeah, that's right.
In the farmland, Twitter works fine, but for some reason that one has it requires more than my computer will do.
JG says # we are all going to die. No, we're not. No. It's going to be fine.
# winter is coming.
Winter is coming. It's already cold. I'm so cold. Why am I so cold? Do you feel the cold?
I want it to be cold. It's not cold enough here for me. I've been wanting it to be cold weather this whole time we've been stuck inside because what do you want to do when you're stuck inside? You want to bundle up in sweatpants and a cozy sweatshirt and get under a blanket and sip tea and not feel guilty
beautiful
for just
weather and you're
lump.
I want to go do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I was in Denmark up until about last week, and only the last week that I was there was it cold. Before that, it was mostly spring weather this late, which I thought was odd for Denmark. But now being back in California, it is still warm out during the day. It's still very warm, and this is I'm old enough to remember being a kid in the same town, and all the leaves would be gone, and it'd be cold, crisp. The mist in the air would have been here for already a month. I know that's weather, not climate, but gosh darn it, it's been like that for a while now.
Yeah. Speaking of weather versus climate, Buns Glazing from Twitch says, does global warming get you warmer winters or does it not work that way? Well,
depends
it
on where
depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
So,
In some places, you get colder winters.
Yeah.
so right now, it is unseasonably warm in Northern Europe and Scandinavia.
Yeah.
It's unseasonably warm. The thing is, the
We
predictions
just had an
from the
ice
model,
storm in Oklahoma.
the predictions for the models, at least for Europe, are that the conveyor belt of the Atlantic, which normally brings has warm waters move north and also brings warmer air currents, keeps that area warmer than you would imagine. So London is as far north as Juneau, Alaska.
Yep.
Yeah. So
It should be
if
cold.
that conveyor belt of the Atlantic slows down, you could see actually like really cold temperatures take place in areas that aren't not normally that cold. California seems to just be drying out and heating up.
It does.
And that seems like that's just going to continue to be the trend. But yeah, ice storms in weird places. We had, somebody said, I can't remember which global warming denying politician says there's not more hurricanes or not more tropical storms than there have been in the past. And that's a true statement. It's not that there's more. It's that the ones that there are more intense. And it was funny, like we talked about this, about how it was like the earliest big tropical storm happened earlier than normal this year at the beginning of that sort of season. And then we got racked by a bunch of hurricanes, a bunch of really strong, powerful ones.
And there are, I think this year, a couple of times, there have been hurricanes lining up in multiple hurricanes, just basically lining up ready to come on in. There were 2 hurricanes in the Gulf at the same time.
Yeah. So
but
that's so the thing is,
things are changing.
It's sort of like weather and climate. It's not that those are more hurricanes. It's that they are getting going from tiny hurricanes to really big ones with a lot less trouble. I guess they have the right conditions to get bigger and bigger each time. So
water's being redistributed around the world, so there's more rain in some places, less rain in others. The Central Plains there's news popping up that the Central Plains are starting to show signs of Dust Bowl type behavior again. There is, which that's drying out, right? That means that water is moving to other places. There's, like you said, greater hurricanes. There are random ice storms places where there aren't usually. Things are shifting around. Definitely moving. But what global warming means is that the entire global temperature average is increasing. It just means there's a lot of change that's happening as that increase happens.
And who? Whoops.
What are you doing there?
Sorry, microphone.
Throwing the computer around.
While we will continue to have low information people claiming that this is not taking place, let's keep in mind they're low information people. They're not looking at any of the information. If you don't look at the information that's out there, I'm not even going to bother with the whole credibility issue of science, whether science is really a thing or it's just things that people make up. That's a thing that only seems plausible if you're an almost zero information person.
Yeah.
If you don't look at any information, it's easy to say it might not exist. I've never seen any data that suggests global warming is a thing. Why? I don't read. I don't research. I don't listen. I don't pay attention to information. So I can disregard it because they've never seen any information that says this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean the information isn't there. That we live in a world where we have this much access to good information. I think we need to start reorganizing our education systems to focus much more heavily on of information.
Yeah.
And
I mean, some of that is
Literacy.
happening. Luckily,
some of that's happening.
That's
I also think that all of these social media platforms have to realize that they have taken over the field of journalism. They are that fourth estate now. And they can't just be chat room level, allowing people open public forum, yes, but I think we need to dedicate, each one should have this sort of duty of dedicating a fact-checking mechanism to the content that they put out.
So that's the thing, is social media, they have their algorithms, but they don't actually put out content. It's people and news organizations who put the content and share it on the social media platforms.
Correct.
So what the social media platforms do is they foster that public square discussion around these stories. The trouble is that the algorithms and there's a lack of fact checking, and the way the algorithms have worked there are biased groups with agendas who have been able to do an end run around reason to get misinformation and propaganda out into the public square at much higher quantities. So it's hard for individuals to be able to fight back and
exactly.
to push those arguments back.
So I would take the model of, I'm going to mess up the country. I think it's Estonia. That their the most popular public.
Right, you were talking about that a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
popular television show is one where they spend an hour a week debunking Russian disinformation programs locally and abroad. Yeah,
it's great.
So what I'm talking about is it would be a simple thing, I guess, maybe, but a top trending bogus claims, like the little thing you see, like these are trending issues. Here's the top trending disinformation. Right, so you can see, like, here's the thing they're saying, here's why it's not true. But you can't do it for everything, and I don't expect that. But you could have like a top 10 hit list of here's the top 10 trending bogus claims that we're seeing across our platform, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is. Because I think that there is I don't want there to be moderating. I don't want people to not be able to have free speech. However, there is an increasing element of screaming fire in a crowded theater, which is not protected speech, which is, we don't protect.
It's endangering people. Yeah.
We don't protect Russian disinformation programs from infiltrating this country. We don't do a great job of stopping them right now, but we don't protect them as free speech.
Right.
Having a algorithm that says, hey, this is trending a lot and we fact checked it and here's why it's wrong, I think would be very healthy for our society.
Yeah, it would be great.
People do disregard sources that disagree with them. That's fine. But have the other information available to them, because with the low information, with the way those algorithms work too, is you end up in a feedback cycle of only hearing. So if you've gotten one of these algorithms that send you down the rabbit hole, all you're seeing are confirming statements around the same disinformation, and you're not getting outside of that box. So is that really then a public forum? No, that becomes captive audience situation. That becomes
it's a self-reinforcing echo chamber.
Self-reinforcing, but I see it as also as you push that person into a town with one newspaper that's owned by the company store. It's owned by the lumber company, the mining industry that owns that town, basically, or runs that town, or whatever.
Which is actually happening in the U.S. as well. But
those are actually not. But I mean, it deprives people. The algorithms that suggest you to only see this content also deprives you of other content.
Yeah.
And so people are staking out territories of human beings on social media with disinformation programs and pulling them into one-track isolated viewpoint. So I think the social media has a ethical obligation to society to also take over that thing that they have largely helped destroy, because it's, the information age and everything, journalism, and apply some of those ethics to their system. It has to happen.
If you think from the perspective of okay, so there's the percentage of the population that are already decided and totally invested in their point of view is smaller than the percentage of the population that is undecided, or that does not, is still kind of like, I don't know, I don't really have an opinion, right? Yeah. So from that perspective, if the algorithms then, every time a piece of misinformation or propaganda or whatever, every time something of that sort gets in front of somebody on, say, their Twitter feed or their Facebook, whatever social media, that the algorithm then, in recognizing certain phrasing, certain words, specifically follows posts like that with alternative posts and makes a concerted effort to, instead of make the rabbit hole go toward more, more fringe viewpoints, flat earth, anti-vax, whatever, instead of tunneling down and into that smaller niche where they can get reprogrammed and have their minds made up by seeing only a certain kind of content, expose them to wider and different arguments, like actually sift through the content to be able to add a wider viewpoint and perspective.
Yeah.
Be the world media provider, really.
And Guav, if you believe in a conspiracy theory, it's hard to get it debunked because you've already made these connections. What I'm more talking about then is perhaps maybe pulling a few people out early. Hey, this looks interesting. Here's all the reasons why this is a trending thing on the whatever media platform. Here's why it's not true. Here's a satellite view of the Earth. Here's science. Here's whatever you need to know that the Earth isn't flat. And then maybe, they don't fall down the hole far enough to get the brainwashing.
I like the nicknames that people in the TWIS chat are coming up with for face cracker. That's good. It's good. There's good ones in there. The face brain. But it's not my brain. No, it's not. It doesn't know me at all. Yeah. Where did Blair go? She just kind of disappeared and didn't say goodbye. What happened? Did she text and say, where'd she go? Ah, there she is. I see you now. She's not listening. She disappeared. I see you. Oh, but anyway, okay. Science. Let's let Blair back.
Hello.
Hello. So tell us about your magical marriage experience. Is there anything that you're happy to share with the audience?
Yeah, I have a few pictures. Cool. Some of these were on social media, but not all of them.
Add to the stream.
Yeah.
Look how cute you are.
So, so it was a very unusual morning of a wedding, because we just got ready in our house and drove to the venue together. It was very funny.
So from this shot, it looks a little bit like you jumped from the back of the limo to the front seat and are hanging out with the driver.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was gonna get married, and then I met this guy. He's way better.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Those
then
pretty
we
flowers, and
yeah
they
The
match your
mask.
mask.
yeah we made a bouquet. We my mom and I made it, and actually Brian was
Aw.
very helpful. The three of us did it. Um, yeah, and I had my satin mask.
Great. That's great.
Yeah. So
Oh, that's so cute.
yeah.
Oh my
it was-
goodness.
Yep. So no, it was very pretty. It was we were in Sutro
Aw.
Park, so we got to have a
Oh,
little bit
look
of
at
fun
this.
with the venue.
Oh, that's
Did it?
Romeo, where art thou? I'm right down here. You have a ladder? Throw down your hair. Oh,
Yeah.
you made it down.
Fetch
Did
it
you
a
I
jump?
made
vash.
it down.
Did you
Fetch it
jump
a
down?
vash.
I
He's
made
like,
it down.
"Yeah,
I
I'm
did
coming
not
down. I have to
jump.
Get the ladder. Woo!
Yeah. And
Did
that
you
was,
tell
yeah.
him? Did you
that was
tell
good.
him that
Aw,
his?
smoochy
Did you
faces.
tell Brian when you're up on top of the wall at Sutro that his mother smelled of elderberries?
Yeah, no, the photographers thought we were nuts enough for me to be running up the steps, like, wait right there, like ran up the steps. And then he was like, fine, do whatever you want. It's just not gonna go on my website. And then he started like taking pictures and readjusting me and stuff. And he was like, actually,
This
this
going
might
on
end
my
up on my website. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and so we just had a few people there. It was like we just kind of grabbed the spot, and then we went to a local like beer garden sort of thing afterwards with a few people. So,
Nice.
and yeah, and we all had our masks on the whole time except for that.
Except for beer gardening,
Yeah, and except for
And-
vows and a kiss,
the kiss.
of course. But
Do
yeah,
you have the wing?
the wing.
The wing?
Marriage.
Marriage.
Oh, there we go. There you go. You can see us a little bit better.
People are talking about The Handmaid's Tale in the YouTube chat. JG says,
because-
"Congrats on your marriage. If it was voluntary,
Oh my god. Yikes.
it was voluntary. It was a choice."
I'll have you know, it's not a black dress. It is a black jumpsuit.
There we go.
Um,
Makes for
Yeah.
climbing castles much more easily.
yes, absolutely. Well, and I asked all my bridesmaids to wear jumpsuits as well, even though we didn't like really take any photos together or anything. It was fun. But yeah, unfortunately these are like all the photos I have because that we had a professional photographer there, but we obviously don't have those photos yet. And
Yeah.
I didn't have my phone on me really the whole time. So this is pretty much all we have right now, but hopefully we'll get some good photos later.
Yeah.
And then we're still supposed to have like a legit wedding next year. Hopefully.
Whenever. Hopefully when things open back up again and you can have groups of people to
Yeah.
celebrate.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, they told us, they were like, oh, you could still have the wedding, but you have to reduce the guest list by like more than half. You have to only have 15 people at the ceremony, no dance floor, no happy hour. The buffet will be like wrapped plates. Just like, okay, no, I
Yeah.
think we'll wait.
Yeah, let's wait.
We can have a year celebration. Let's have a
Yeah.
first anniversary. Fingers crossed next year.
Jeez. Yeah. But no, I'm really happy we did it because next year is still like a pretty big question mark. So it's not like we've waited around for something that may or may not happen at a specific time. So like we did the thing. That's moving forward and we can kind of move on with our lives and hopefully we can have our big party next year, but
Yeah.
we're not like sitting waiting around.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's so
you.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yay.
was
A
a
little bit
lovely
of
day.
happiness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lovely day. Everything went perfectly. Like I said, I mean, to my knowledge, knocking on all the wood, it's been almost 2 weeks now. Nobody got sick.
Good.
Like that was my number one concern. Was like I'm dragging my parents out of the house. I hope it's okay.
Yeah. It sounds like
That
you did
looks safe.
everything. It sounds
It was
like you
nice and
did everything
outdoors
as safe as possible. Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
pod
Yeah.
and masks.
Mhm.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well
Yeah.
done. Well done. Doing it right.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna get. I mean, at least that's one of the good things about the late summer, the warm fall in the Bay Area. You're able to have nice outdoor gatherings, and
Yeah.
it's the indoor aspect of winter is going to be upon us. Thanksgiving is going to be a lot harder. Christmas is
Right.
going to be even harder to be able to put all this stuff together and bring people together.
I mean, in
Outdoor spaces
California,
and
we're kind of lucky because you could potentially just like bundle up really well. And as long as it's not pouring rain, you could still potentially do things outside.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if you're in Michigan, it's different.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
I do feel for the parts of the country that get hit really hard in the winter. It's going to be a lot more difficult to be creative and stay safe without marginalizing the importance of being around the important people in the time of year that is designed to make you sad. Like, do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it's pretty tough to
Yep.
say you can't see your family or your friends at a
Can I-
time when you always have and a time
yeah.
that also is hormonally making you sad.
because it's
Can I-
the
can I
time that you're
also
supposed
say-
to cuddle up and see family and
Can
hygge,
I also
right?
reiterate something that I've mentioned a couple times, I think previously? This is really stupid, what we're doing.
Yes.
We
It is. Oh, he
do
froze.
a hard shutdown. Hard. Oh, did I? Oh, no. Well, tell me
back.
when
No,
I'm
you're
back.
good now.
Am I
You're
back?
back.
Am I back now? This is really stupid. I think I said that. What we should do is a hard shutdown for 6 weeks. Hard shutdown. No, everybody stock up before Thanksgiving. Have a feast at home. Whatever. 6 weeks. How is this number too hard for all of the globe to understand? Everything that you're doing is just putting off. It's like the whole planet is procrastinating from taking any action. 6 weeks, quarantine everyone, then we're done. Do you
Yeah.
understand how easy that is? How simple of a solution we have? We don't have to invent anything. We just need to
Yeah.
stop doing everything
Yeah, so
for
the
6
interesting
weeks.
Pretty much. There was a network analysis study. There people modeling how this spreads and transmission and all that kind of in Science last week. That's really interesting. What they pretty much have put together is that the majority of transmission happens within households, which makes sense because if you're in a household, you are with those people all the time, sharing space. And so if like one person goes out into the world and brings it back into the house, that one person is going to spread it to probably more people in their household than
Who don't
that
know they
one
have
person
it
they got.
and have gone and interacted with their individual people that they interact with.
But that's the thing. So the likelihood of transmission, what they're saying is households are the biggest. The likelihood of transmission is highest in households because that's where all the air is and people are spending all their time together. And then the likelihood of transmission decreases as you go out into the networks. But so you have these network effects where the highest transmission occurs in these super spreader events in public spaces, places where people cohabitate, like nursing homes and prisons. But the likelihood of transmission, it still happens a lot because there are a lot more people out in the world, out in the general public than in like one house. But the likelihood of any one individual person is lower out in the world. But they have this whole map of how the transmission chains take place. And the bottom line is that if there are still significant, that the bottom line is that COVID-19 is going to continue in the human population, similar to the flu, as long as there are pockets of populations around the world that have the potential to spread, to travel to other areas in the world, that keep the virus going. So
by pockets, do you mean like
cheat.
80,000 people a day getting it? Pockets, or are you talking about
probably smaller? Even much smaller.
So
like New Zealand. So New Zealand is not where people are. People are not leaving New Zealand and bringing COVID to the rest of the world. That's not happening anymore because of the way they handled it. San Francisco has one of the lowest transmission rates, the lowest infection rates in the entire United States because of the way the Bay Area has handled this whole pandemic. The Bay Area is doing amazingly. Mm-hmm. It's hard, but they've done an amazing job.
So I'm a little confused, but are you saying that you think that people should all stay away from home for 6 weeks?
Yeah, we should all stay away from home.
Scatter.
Go live on the streets. Scatter.
Okay.
Go.
I want to go back to that main thing though. That
we can all go camping for 6 weeks.
We can stop this.
Go in the wild.
We
go
can
outdoors.
stop the entire thing 6 weeks. Now we could have stopped in February. We could have taken 6 weeks off and been done by mid-March, April maybe. We could have done this in March. Been April, May.
The problem is it's because it was done piecemeal. This was not
not at all. Like
or not at all.
Or
some
red
places.
states.
The fact that some places chose not to, others did. The fact that some places locked down, others didn't. Of course, it kept spreading. Once it was around the world, it's going to keep going around the world unless people shut it down. So it has to be like, you're right, Justin. It has to be a concerted global shutdown, unless of course you have an area that has zero infection rate whatsoever.
No, because
you got nothing.
New Zealand had zero, and they've started. They
even need to join in. It has to be a global thing,
yeah.
and the zero to low up to the disinformation people. What do we do about them? I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. If people are going to refuse to do the things that help keep society healthy, that would help to put this pandemic in its place, then it's going to be a long time because people don't want to play.
So
I feel like that's why you tie a check to it, right? You say
there has to be some
here's
enticement.
$5,000 for 6 weeks or something. I don't know.
I don't think there necessarily has to be a financial incentive to it. Actually, I think you could pull this off by getting the big banks and the insurance companies that back big banks to say, hey, we're going to suspend all recovery of payment from loans and mortgages and everything else for the 6 weeks. Pause it. It starts up as if it was the next day at the end of the 6 weeks. The banks aren't going to be in trouble for whatever leverage they have. Therefore, the people who they're loaning money to aren't in trouble for any leverage that they have, all the way down to rent.
Just press a global pause.
But who pays for food, though?
Right. And there's
are you making
a
paycheck during that time?
For 6 weeks? No. So yes. There's
a lot of people out there who don't have 6 weeks worth of groceries money saved away.
And what about food? And what about food that's growing that needs to be harvested? What about
farmers need to work. There's always an essential. I know, but the essential is a lot less of the population than we have called essential. It just is a much
the whole grocery store thing. If we had enough time.
Yeah, we have 2 weeks. Look, okay. If you don't have, you're talking about, can you afford groceries for those 6 weeks to buy them in advance? Look, if you're not paying rent for the next 6 weeks, most people can afford, that's half or more of their income. So that's going to be fine. For most people in California,
stockpiling 6 weeks of food is expensive.
65% of their income goes to rent. If they're or mortgage, if they're off the hook for that for 6 weeks, they can afford food. If they didn't have money to begin with, now you're talking about social safety net food programs. That also has to happen.
Yep.
That's what they did, by the way.
But if you're making no money for 6 weeks.
So what they did in China.
This is what I'm saying. Even if you're not paying for your rent.
What they did in China, in Wuhan, the way they shut it down was everybody had to be, by force of arrest or having people, there's houses that they nailed boards across the front door to keep people in. But they brought everybody food. That was their only essential worker, was the people bringing food to all the people.
Yeah, so they were brought food, but you have to have rent. You have to have rent suspended. You have to have mortgages suspended. You have to have all
the cost
banking
of doing that
suspended
for 6 weeks, which I've been talking about for a long time. If we just had done it at any 6-week interval going back,
it's just not going to happen.
Done.
Right. Yes.
We'd be done. It'd be over.
But we can't even get a second coronavirus relief pass.
So it's not happening.
You can't even send a little donut to people who are in trouble right now. So how are you going to make the widespread changes needed?
It's because it's not hard. It's really not hard.
Saying it's hard. It's not.
You're saying
hard
it's not hard
to recognize that people need stimulus right now either. That's not hard.
All right. Half of every city's budget goes to police. So they can be the essential workers that bring food everywhere. Whatever. It's not going to be an impossible task. Do a comparative of the revenue, the earnings lost, the unemployed, the prolonged, the torturous, slow, stupid way that we've been attempting to tackle things for almost, is it going to be a year? And we're still doing this? When 6 weeks can solve it? That's insane. That's just stupid. It's just stupid. I don't know. I don't think that.
You keep beating on it like we can do something about it.
Yeah, we agree with you is the thing.
We agree with you. We've agreed with you many times.
But why is it that if it's such an easy thing, how come it's so
add it to the list. It's such an easy thing.
I think it's an easy thing conceptually. I think it's when it comes down, something like that, when it comes to actually getting 7.5 billion people to agree
Sharma
on
says,
it.
Justin, the world is a lot more complex. This ain't a simulation video game. Yeah, I don't know. I think the actual simulation of economy turns out to be absolute nonsense. We have a complete worker shutdown, basically. Millions and millions of people, less people working than for higher unemployment than ever before. Like nobody's seen unemployment rates. And yet the stock market hit its highest peak ever. Tell me economy has anything to do with how they teach economy. It has nothing to do with how they teach economy. It's nothing to do with it. Money's made up. It doesn't actually... it's just an invent in a social contract. And when society breaks down, the contract doesn't even make sense. You have the highest stock market ever when industry is its lowest, when workers are at their highest unemployment, when everything is a mess, and the stock market is the highest it's ever been. It's jumping
because
nonsense.
Wealth doesn't trickle down.
Of course it doesn't.
The stock market is not linked to the economy.
The stock market is probably pretty indicative of the fact that we have several billionaires in the world. But it does not impact. It's not indicative of the general populace.
Hey, we're not cutting paychecks anymore. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Okay. So can I tell you something? I don't know if you should. I should probably not talk about this.
Can we talk about?
Hang on. Let me just say this one last thing that I shouldn't talk about. You know what's gonna happen? There's a lot of foreclosure taking place. Yeah. You know where Wall Street is putting its money?
We've talked about.
It's putting its money in companies that buy those foreclosures and then are going to rent them back to people. Yeah, they're buying all the houses.
Yeah, it's bad.
They're buying all the houses, and we're gonna have a renter society for forever now.
Mm-hmm.
Fiefdom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not really gonna be fun. Anyway, I'm done ranting. I'm sorry. I took up a lot of ranting air space.
There is honestly, Justin, there is a lot to rant about these days. So yeah. Next week is going to be interesting for sure. But that's episode 798 next week.
Ooh, that means we're mighty close.
And then let's see if I have a calendar here. How did I get off on this? I thought 800 was going to be different place. Maybe I miscounted somewhere along the way.
So 798 you said is next week?
Yeah, 798 is next week, and then 99 and 800 will be November 18th.
Guava has a correction. 797, do you mean? Let me see. What does it say at the top of this run sheet? Let me go up here and check.
I think it says 797. Yep. 94, 95, 96, 97. I don't think I missed 10 episodes anywhere.
Okay, yeah, we're at 797, 798, 799.
Yeah,
Oh, it'll be 3
18th.
weeks. Will be the 800th episode.
Oh, Eric is saying YouTube says it's 796.
Oh,
Interesting.
that would have been me mistyping things then.
Uh-oh.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
You can change that, right?
Because, it's not a computer that writes these things in YouTube. It's my fingers. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, brainy, messy uppy things. Yes. Wait, how do numbers work? Yeah. Oh, yeah, Stride. Fake news on YouTube again. Faux show. This is episode 797 that we did this evening.
Nice.
Which means next week is... Yeah, so we're hitting 800 in 3 weeks in November.
Okay.
I feel like we should have some kind of a celebration. I'm also very tired.
Concur.
Hey,
Planning things is hard for me these days.
we should have just you know what we should do? We should just get together and hang out and talk
Should we
about
just
all the good times.
Yeah, you want to get together? We can have some beers, play some poker pool.
Talk about old times, new stuff, what's been going on.
We could do some science experiments.
Yeah.
Could sequence some DNA. There we go. Could be fun. What can we do for 800, huh?
Should we ask for people to send in something like video or like tweet
that's a great
messages that we could play?
Tell us what This Week in Science means to you.
Yeah, how on Twitter or
Yeah, maybe Twitter. We could do like a hashtag and have people tweet to the hashtag videos or messages.
Or we can make one of those pound signs.
pound 800 TWIS.
All right, Grandpa.
Oh, this
1-800-TWIS.
I'm never gonna tell if it's plastic or real metal. What? It's plastic.
TWIS blooper compilation. That's just a TWIS compilation.
That's
This is any episode.
Oh, I need, if we were to do some kind of, blooper compilation, I should get Kai to go through and listen. No, I want to hide that. Oh, why didn't that work?
It's very funny.
How do I get
Yeah,
rid of
people
that
could share their
person?
favorite memory from TWIS. And then we could, if we had enough time, we could try to find the actual recording that they're referring to.
Oh, look at this. I can show that.
That'd be fun.
Oh, look what I just learned we can do.
That's very cool.
That's groovy.
Barbecue
That's a cool
science.
superpower.
Yes.
Ugh.
Oh, there's Carol Ann. Good morning and good science.
That's so cool. I didn't know that was possible.
Look at me learning things.
Essential lives worker. So, yeah, Blair married an essential worker. I was one briefly. I was one for a couple 8 weeks or so.
Yeah. He just left in his scrubs. It's pretty wild.
Actually, it's really nice when things are in lockdown and you're an essential worker. That's the best way to be working right now, is when everybody else isn't. Freeways are open. There's no traffic. There's no people to run into and interact with on the streets. It
is great job security. I was like, well, no matter what, you'll still have a job.
Yep.
So that's cool. It's pretty wild.
Identity 4 just said, sounds like bedtime is drawing near.
Because I yawned. I yawn again.
They know the signs. They know the signs. A TWIS special. Stories about things we knew for sure that were proven wrong by new science.
Oh, look. ZDBBGTX441900 says, want to become famous? With a name like that, how could you not?
How could you not?
You're such a famous.
I'm not over on Twitch to banhammer that person.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well.
Oh, Physics Police in the YouTube chat room wants to know where I went on my honeymoon. So I did, we did 2 nights at a resort in Napa, which was much cheaper than normal because most of their amenities were closed from COVID.
Yeah.
So we just went and like ordered room service and went to the pool, which was nice because there was no one there. So we got to go swimming, which was very fun. Then like went to their outdoor restaurant, which was basically empty, and then hung out in the hotel room. It was great. And then we did 4 nights in a cabin in amongst redwoods up in the Sonoma coast. So
nice.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and they had like a hot tub on the deck, and they had a wood burning stove, and yeah, it was
romantic.
Really it was romantic, and it was like very calming, and it was really good. It was exactly what we needed. Like,
we're all started. You started the yawns, Blair.
I didn't put a mask on for 5 days, which was wild.
That's amazing.
It was insane. Like the world felt normal.
Yeah, I do that. I go for days without putting on a mask, but it's because I haven't left my house.
Right. See, I have Sadie, so I put a mask on to take her out, which I didn't do at the beginning of the pandemic. I think we talked about that last time, a couple weeks ago, but like, cause I was just like, oh, I'm just running outside to the little patch of grass and running back. But there's a high likelihood that you'll like run into someone on the stairs or have to walk down a pathway that someone else is walking down. So I mask up now every time I go out. So I don't usually go more than a few hours without putting a mask on.
Yeah.
Oh, it was not on fire. Yeah.
It was not on fire.
The whole time leading up to it, I was like, will both locations still exist when our honeymoon starts? Will we be able to breathe the air? Let's see what happens. And yeah, it's the fires in Napa and Sonoma County became contained like a few days before we left. It's like, great.
Perfect timing. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear a little bit of happiness.
Yeah.
It's so good. I want to have a nice little vacation. That would be nice. I like vacations.
Yeah.
We should rent a house on the coast just for a weekend.
Yeah. Kai can take care of himself in the house. Just you and Marshall go.
Yes. Oh. He's almost old enough to stay home alone.
Yeah. You
But
have
is it
another
12
family in your
legally?
pod, right? Yeah, I think it's 12. Just leave him with them. Just
Mm-hmm.
you guys deserve some escape, just the two of you.
Jalex in the chat room in YouTube left a comment. What is more contagious, COVID or yawning? And reading the word yawning made me yawn. So I think if you catch COVID from reading the word COVID, it would be about equivalent with yawning. Yawning definitely wins.
Identity 4 calls it sleep Rona.
Oh boy.
He said, he's yawning. I caught your sleep Rona.
Oh, no. Well, also, yawning is related to how much you empathize with the person, and COVID definitely is not. So
True. Yeah, not related at all. All right. Everyone's yawning. It is time for us to head toward the bed. 800 episodes. Soon enough, y'all.
are we dressing up? Are we gonna dress fancy?
Don't we always?
In my
The
denim
last-
shirt?
Was the last fancy dress, was that
That was
500?
500.
That
yeah.
was 500.
So we
I
should
mean-
wait till 1,000.
Stop saying
is what
yawning.
you're saying.
Stop writing yawning in the chat room, people. It's making me yawn uncontrollably.
Oh, I mean, let's see. Can we do this for 2 more years and do 1,000 episodes and
That's 4 more years, right?
Wait, no, is it?
oh
2 years?
yeah,
Yeah.
4
52 weeks in a year.
Oh, you're right. You're better at math.
4 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 more years.
4
no, wait,
more
what are we
years.
saying? Stop. Everybody stop right now.
No.
Maybe we'll get fancy for episode 800.
We might need to. We might need a reason to celebrate.
Dress up a little bit.
Pop
Little
some
celebration.
champagne.
Little celebration science. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can if we can bring in a guest or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, maybe like half a normal show and half fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would love.
I don't know. I always find this show so
4
interesting.
more years of science.
I find this
Katie's
show
She's giving me a low
interesting
growl.
and fun as it is. I don't even know how you can make this more fun. Like, I really don't.
I think about like TWIS-mageddon type stuff is all.
Okay.
TWIS-mageddon was
So
fun.
just drinking live on the air?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, or like we could play games would be fun. Like so I did a whole virtual newlywed game with Brian, or my maid of honor and his best man like worked together to come up with questions and stuff, and then we had to like write it down and reveal it and see if we matched and stuff like that. Something like that would be pretty fun.
No. What's the could we do some kind of like I feel weird not doing a podcast episode because we do have like the podcast, it's like the show, right? We gotta do the show. But I wonder if we could do, the tabletop I forget what it's called, where you try and raise money for good causes, and you play by playing a game. And we could and you can pick like any game, and we could play like a science game or something.
Drinking game. Yes, Caroline, but I understand it is 4 a.m. Now that we start your time.
At 4 a.m.
But yes, you can, because it's going to be for a cause of some sort.
Yes,
we haven't figured out.
can.
Yes, you can drink along with that. JG says, go to bed, Justin. You are all over the place. Yes, I have been up since 3 o'clock in the morning because I'm still like in some mid-Atlantic time zone, somewhere between. I was in Carol's time zone, which started at 4 a.m. and we've been going. So it's like 7 in the morning, and I didn't sleep the night before kind of a scenario right now. So I am absolutely jet lagged loopy. Absolutely. That's great advice, JG. I should go to bed.
Yeah, maybe we could do some kind of combo where we have, like a part, the show, and we have a celebrate, but then we have a 800 celebration that would be like the after show.
And you'd have to go to YouTube to watch it.
And you have to, or Facebook or Twitch, but you have to go to the live stream to watch. Right. You have to go to the stream where that's aired to watch it. It won't go out necessarily over the podcast. But we could do things like play games and, it could be fun.
TWIS game night.
That could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I
remember the last time we had a game night for TWIS, Blair?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
We got fired.
We're older and wiser now.
You got fired from a station for having a TWIS game night.
I wasn't even there.
I know.
No, you weren't even there to enjoy how much fun we had destroying a relationship with a broadcast channel. Oh, that's great.
I had no idea. I'm like, what happened? I don't know what happened.
So everything was going fine until it turned out nobody was really in charge of the studio.
Right.
And as soon as we realized that, we
were invited to an event and assumed someone was having some oversight.
And apparently they thought we were in charge.
Yeah.
Which we weren't, but
no. Not at all.
H and EK, I don't know if we're going to play Pandemic.
It was a great story, Carol. It was totally Can we tell the story? Is it possible?
No, can we?
Did you play Cards Against Humanity?
Yes.
Like
so we were
live
playing
on
it
the air?
backstage.
We were playing it backstage, and then we decided, because it was like 11 o'clock at night, so we're thinking safe harbor, which is a thing where if after a certain late hour, you can put some obscenities on the radio and broadcast some little off color, because it's in the safe harbor late night. Kids should already be in bed. So it turns out we were at a tech-oriented channel that broadcasts streaming everywhere in the world.
Right. But so if I may provide a little bit more context also, it was for a particular show on the network where people played games. And it was just a stream of people playing games, and usually it was video game video games.
Nintendo original Mario Kart or something.
So they did video games, but then they did this board game Fridays or something like that. And they invited us to attend the board game Friday situation. And they told us to bring whatever board and card games we wanted. We were playing something backstage.
So who brought Cards Against Humanity, though? That's a puzzle piece I never put together.
I brought it, but I'm not the one who said that we should do that.
Okay, that was my idea.
You.
Safe Harbor. Okay, so here's how if you're not familiar with the game, it can get exceedingly crude and vulgar with the language. So while we're in Safe Harbor in California, it turns out that in 9 hours later in Cheerio London town, where the young kids who are tuning into their favorite tech show on a Monday or Sunday morning, what they got was Justin Blair and a bunch of other people who'd been drinking whiskey and playing this vulgar game, falling out of our chairs laughing at the crudest language possible.
I really thought somebody else was in charge.
All over the world.
I love both of you. I really thought someone was in charge. Someone was.
I will take some level of responsibility in absolutely recognizing that they thought we were in charge.
We were a guest on their program. I assumed the person who hosted and produced that show was was telling us what was okay and was not okay.
Yeah, but we were.
would think they would take responsibility as producer. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but we were actually hosts of another show who at the end of their show was left with the crew whose job it was to set up and do stuff for the show people who apparently we were. There were no producers present. Kiki wasn't present. The other producers, the other directors of the station, nobody else was present.
There were engineers present, which I did think,
techs.
You would think that, there would be something about that where somebody would be like, oh, you're not allowed to swear or something like that, right?
Right.
But we got nothing. It was just like, yeah, go for it.
Wait, Blair. What do you mean we got nothing? If you knew better, you knew better. If you didn't know better,
I didn't know what this whole situation was about. I was invited to do a thing, and I did the thing.
I will admit to being severely naive.
Were you invited to play Cards Against Humanity on the internet for all to see?
I mean, yes.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah,
that's beautiful.
We got separated that relationship after some people got some nasty emails. I wrote a very strong email in defense of all of the crew who didn't know what was coming and took full responsibility for it. Which usually gets me out of trouble, but this time it didn't. So don't do that every time. I won't do that. I won't make that mistake again. Taking responsibility for things sucks. It's not worth it. But I did really feel bad because it never occurred to me that this was coming on at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, or and that. My children tuned into your tech-friendly show to find the most vulgar.
I just honestly
Discord.
I was operating under some weird assumption that what we were doing was not different from what they normally do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I knew we were off the rails. I
not.
Absolutely knew it, and couldn't believe that they were filming it. I didn't believe. I was like, I can't believe we're getting away with this. This is really awesome. I was like, they're probably going to give us a medal and bring us back every week to do this because this was so amazingly fun.
See, naive Blair had been on TWIS for less than a year, I think, at that point.
You're like, ooh, what's this new thing?
I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
like,
Blair
oh, cool,
thought
they
somebody
work
was in
blue.
charge.
That's awesome.
Justin recognized nobody was. But again, I will keep saying I didn't realize how streaming globally didn't take into account.
It was. Yeah, looking back on it, it does seem like a duh. But this was it was in like 2013 or something. It was like
It was
very early in the streaming world. It did. Yeah, you're right. It didn't really occur.
It didn't occur to me that this was something somebody could be watching live at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. It just felt like we were doing late night radio, which is where we had just come from, which is a radio station that you get into the late night hours. That's when you play the uncensored version of all the albums.
Yep.
Because it's safe harbor and you're loud and it's fine and it's. But I applied safe harbor to a thing that runs 24/7 at every hour somewhere.
Globally, everywhere.
It's not how that works, apparently. Oh, and the internet is forever. However, I do believe it was up. On Justin TV when that existed.
Oh yeah.
Then I lost. It was I started just. I lost the link. But I don't think I think it might have just gotten scrubbed because that tech show had a little bit of tech pull and might have been, we're going to remove that file if you don't mind. And they were like, it's cool. It's from that guy who we think is cool. So we'll just do it. But if anybody can find it, I would love to watch it again.
I would not. I think I'd be mortified.
No, I don't think you would because I think it was, the way I remember
You think it was very entertaining, but you were also under an influencer too.
I've been drinking a little bit, but I do remember falling out of my chair laughing
I do remember
at least
that.
one or two of your card put togethers because you were killing it. You were winning.
I'm very good at that game.
You were very good at that game. And there was a couple that I remember I just couldn't talk. I couldn't talk for a while because they killed so hard. And it was a nice table. It wasn't just me and Blair. There was like 6-8 of us.
I think there were like 8 of us.
We brought like the whole thing because I'm so horrible. I don't like to commit crime by myself. So I made like all the crew come join us. Like, no, get out from behind the camera. You done setting up lights? Yeah, you're part of the show too. You get in the shot. You get in the shot. Everybody get in here. And they're like, we get to be in front of the camera. This is fun. And then almost everybody got
they
fired.
thought you were in charge.
Oh, well, yeah, you can act like I'm in charge. But yeah, I made it so that just we got fired. Not anybody else.
Carol-Ann, oh my God. So World Wide Web was just a concept for you.
So I think also part of it was that like podcasts had like really started to take off at this point. And so I had been listening to all of these comedy podcasts that are explicit, and like those are available at any time to anyone.
Right,
They're just
right.
labeled
To
as explicit.
download,
So
yeah.
like
Exactly.
I think there was also a part of me that just was kind of like, this is how they operate. Great. Okay.
I was coming at it with so we had podcasts which are pre-recorded, which you put out or you don't, fine.
Yeah.
And you had like late night safe harbor where it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just people are up this late. Yeah, live streaming globally was not a thing I hadn't really been.
Identity 4 says, in your defense, that network was just making it all up as it went along.
And it wasn't 2013. It was earlier than that. It was like 2010.
You
No.
think? 20?
Yeah, 2010, 2011. Absolutely. 2013, I was full-time in Davis. I was nowhere near that place for years.
It would have been after Blair started with the show.
So I started in
And it was
2012.
Yeah, and that's
No,
so
no,
it's
you were
2012
no,
because
no.
it's after Blair started after I had Kai.
Yeah. Like
How old is Kai?
months after. Yeah.
Yeah.
How old is Kai? Is he 8?
He's 9.
Aha! I'm getting
He
close.
was
That's
born
20
he was born in 2011.
Yeah. And so I started January 2012.
And less than the year. Okay.
Yeah. And then
Gorov's new bucket list item is getting wasted and saying expletives on a global radio show.
You know,
I mean, I guess that is a good way to look at it. Is like enough time has passed that I don't feel as terrible anymore. I still feel bad, but I like
bucket list.
now it is kind of a fun anecdote. That's like it's kind
it's
of a cool thing.
hilarious.
Like we were on the live internet doing just
what's funny is that
humor.
and what's funny is that here on my own show, I'm like, I would never say any of that. That's what's also terrible about it. It's like I would never do that here. But yeah, that Dean Carroll Smith or whatever was the letter that got sent to the station that I saw, the one I saw at least.
Oh God, I didn't see any of this.
Explicitly detailed things that they had heard that their 8-year-old had heard.
Oh no.
Yes. And so right now, I mean, that was a really long time ago. I think that 8-year-old's probably killing it in comedy clubs because they learned all the good comedy word thing riff really early. I was like, vulgar plays? I am totally doing that.
So yeah, I think it was 2012. I think I was still an intern. I think I was brand new.
Yeah.
I think it was before I left for Israel. I think it was like that summer.
Yep. Oh yeah, it was before,
Yep.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So I wasn't even a co-host yet.
You're still an intern. That's right. Even you couldn't say. I became somehow by default, as people left the building, I became in charge. And they're like, do you want to do it? I'm like, yeah. And then everybody went to work. I was like, that's what makes
Well, I don't feel nearly as bad then. If I was an intern, I
No.
didn't know any
You're
better.
just the intern. Like everybody else left. And I think
But Blair, now I can just say, just I blame it on the intern.
And I even think the show that we were following was like a temp show. It wasn't like a permanent fixture show.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
By default, I somehow became the person in charge by other people leaving the building.
Yeah, no wonder I never heard about these letters if I was the intern.
Oh,
because I never heard about this. Is new information for me.
No, it all got sent to me because they had to explain, or they didn't have to explain. They were nice enough to explain.
Yikes!
Like, hey, so here's why we're doing some image rebuilding. The person who's in charge has put their blood, sweat, and tears and many years into this effort of this station. It's a little upset with your behavior, and I couldn't help but empathize. Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, I'll take full responsibility. What do you mean I'm getting consequences? I took responsibility. That doesn't mean consequence. Oh, you know what? Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. That's usually how it happens. I'm really bad at not taking responsibility for things. It's one of those character defaults. Like I think I would do a lot better by not taking as much responsibility. But I'm like, yeah, I can actually see why that's my fault. It probably was some bad decision making on my part, no doubt.
I'm actually looking back through old emails.
Oh, jeez.
Like,
God.
Will I find it in here?
Oh my God. I have never looked. I don't know if I was this email though. Because that was a really long time ago.
I don't know. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't even know what I would look for.
And not to give out where this was, but I when I tried to search my email, I got a whole bunch of stuff from Twitter. Bunch of Twitter notifications for some reason.
So many. Anyway.
JG wants to know, why are you letting this go on?
This is exactly how it happened. It just started and it kept going and there's no stopping it.
Earlier said, trust me, just cut it here. This isn't going to end well.
No, it's not.
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. No,
What, do you think you have it?
No.
No. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything that
mistakes were made. But we became our own entity, which is cool.
We already were. No.
I mean, we were, but we still became more, I guess, independent.
We were already independent. We were just like being kindly, freely hosted. We weren't getting paid, but we were just being allowed to participate in the larger operations, a lot more visibility. And to this day, still amazed by the studio that it was in the operation. Fantastic operation. Fantastic people.
I got to do one show live from that studio in person with you. That was very fun.
And we had so much fun. Like that,
it was really
that episode,
fun.
Was that the, and we also had some fun episodes where we were disembodied heads on screens. And then like we had people that were coming behind the screens and doing hand gestures.
Yeah.
Behind the screen. So
it was
we're just
a wild
like
place.
It's like the head on the screen. And then, oh my gosh, there was so much fun and creativity taking place. It's actually it's probably a good thing that we broke with them. But I think we could have had so much fun and done so many more creative things if it just wasn't for the fact that British people are such uptight people about vulgarity in children. Like, get over it.
What's happening here? Kiki making a green screen? She is.
Ooh. Wonder why.
She's gonna become a floating head, I think.
I'm like,
So,
oh,
maybe it was this old email.
if I had my green screen, I could make that. Wait, maybe I can. Hold on. Oh no, I think I have to go out to fix it. Oh wait, no. Hold on.
Does StreamYard do like green screen stuff?
Uh-huh.
Oh, they do.
This is where I hang out in the bricks. Did that work?
Yeah. Yes.
Yay! Floating head, doot 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 doot. Floating head, doot 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 doot. Doot 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 doot. Doot 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 doot.
Oh, jeez. That's really good. Oh my gosh.
Ah, too much fun. Too much fun. Episode 800. That's right, I could pull out the chain.
That's a really good green screen. Wow, it works very well.
Yes. StreamYard has good green screen.
So, yeah, all the emails that I have from Twit are from Jammer B, and they're all in 2010, but December of 2010. And then they stop. In late December. I wonder if it was around. Was it around Christmas? Oh, it might have been.
No.
Yeah, it might have been around Christmas.
No, it can't have been. Because I was gone.
2010?
No, I wasn't. I didn't exist yet in 2010.
So how could we have been at the studio
Blair
before
was,
you
was
existed?
yet to be seen.
Wait, no. How could? Wait, hang on a second. Did
You
we
were there
start it?
before it started, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think it was like summer 2012.
I would like to invite you all to my new home. I have a grand piano
Yes.
in my new home
This is
with my
very nice.
fireplace and my large couch. Come. Tinkle the ivory keys. La 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 la. Episode 800. What games are we gonna play? And stream
I got
to the
an idea.
whole world.
No.
I got an idea.
I don't know if I've played that game since then. It's left such a nasty taste in my mouth.
Tarnished.
Yeah.
Oh, baby, want a no? That's a no. No. We'll find a physics game, or we'll find. What science games can we play? We'll figure something out. We'll play some games. We'll have some fun. But that's not next week. Next week, hopefully, we will be celebrating. Hi, cat. All right, everyone. I think it's time to call it for the night.
Uh-oh.
If you have ideas for episode 800, please let me know. In the meantime, I'd love to have messages from people, little video messages or audio messages that we can play. You can send them on Twitter. What do you think? Hashtag TWIS800. Does that sound good? Or 800
Yes.
TWIS. TWIS800.
TWIS-800, I think.
TWIS800. It was a good story. Physics Police says Tinkle the Ivory sounds like a Cards Against Humanity answer.
Oh, no.
It does. Oh, dear. Everyone. Yeah. Okay. So if you Twitter or you can socially share your comments on 800 episodes and use the hashtag TWIS800. We will share information about it using the hashtag TWIS800. But if you want to share messages that you don't want to share socially, but you would like us to play on the show, then please send them in an email or a private message, I guess. However, but yes, I think that works. 800 episodes. We always need to celebrate these. This is another 2 years. Milestones. Another 2 years. Seriously, 20 years and 800, well over 800 episodes. 800 podcast episodes. It's good. Thank you, everyone. Thunder Beaver, you imagined that, yes, this is what my house looks like. And yes, of course I have a butler. Yes. Yes. Well, my butler cleans the house and brings me coffee in the morning. Yes. Breakfast. Yes.
What time zone are you in that it's daytime?
It is always sunny in this time zone.
Is it Philadelphia?
No, it's on the sunny side of the moon. That was not a scientific comment. You know that, right?
Good night, Blair. Say good night, Justin.
Good night, Justin.
Good
night, Kiki. Oh, somebody wrote yawn in the chat room.
It's time. So long, farewell, all. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Be healthy.
Have a happy Halloween.
Have a happy Halloween. Yeah, happy Halloween. Enjoy the holiday.
It's not my hand. Don't know where it came from.
And if you're in the United States, practice some self-care next week before the show. Maybe on Tuesday.
Yeah, on Tuesday and Wednesday, practice a lot of self-care. But we will be here at the end of Wednesday Pacific time, 8 p.m. Next week to be doing life together. Self-care. Get sleep. Eat well. Take care of yourself. We can do this. We'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you. Bye.